The camera pans across a sprawling mansion where a wealthy businessman storms out of a bedroom, slamming the door behind him. Inside, a 12-year-old girl with clouded eyes sits perfectly still on her bed, tears streaming down her face as she clutches a small wooden elephant carving, the only gift her father ever gave her. "I can't do this anymore," the man had shouted moments earlier, his voice breaking with frustration rather than sorrow. "She's too much work, too much responsibility. Find her a special school somewhere far away." What the father doesn't know is that thousands of miles away, in a wildlife sanctuary facing closure, an orphaned elephant calf who had lost its mother to poachers would soon forge an unbreakable bond with his abandoned daughter, a connection that would ultimately teach him the true meaning of love, family, and redemption. Could an animal show more humanity than the man who had everything but gave nothing? Like and subscribe to our channel for more heartwarming stories of unexpected bonds, and share your own experiences with animals who changed your life in the comments below. Maxwell Pierce stood at the floor-to-ceiling window of his penthouse office, gazing at the Manhattan skyline he'd helped reshape. 52 stories below, people moved like ants, living lives that never intersected with his unless he willed it so. His reflection stared back at him, perfect salt and pepper hair, tailored Italian suit, the hard lines of a face that hadn't genuinely smiled in 3 years. "Mr. Pierce?" His executive assistant, Eleanor's voice, broke through his thoughts. "The board is waiting." Maxwell didn't turn. "Tell them I'll be there in 5 minutes." Eleanor hesitated, clipboard clutched to her chest. She'd been with him for 15 years, had witnessed his rise to becoming one of New York's most powerful real estate developers. She'd also witnessed his fall as a father. "Sir, Dr. Winters called again about Lily's therapy schedule." Maxwell's jaw tightened. "Handle it." "With all due respect, sir, I can't keep rescheduling her appointments. The doctor says consistency is crucial for—" I said handle it. His voice sliced through the air like a blade. "That's what I pay you for, is it?" "It?" Eleanor flinched but stood her ground. "Lily needs stability. Since Maria passed, don't." Maxwell finally turned, his expression thunderous. "Don't bring her into this, Maria, his wife, Lily's mother. Gone 3 years now, taken by an aneurysm no one saw coming. She'd been the one who knew how to handle Lily's blindness, who had turned their daughter's darkness into a world of sound and touch and possibility. Maxwell had never learned how. He'd been too busy building empires." "The school called again," Eleanor continued, her voice softening. "There was another incident. Lily got disoriented during recess and had a panic attack when she couldn't find her way back to class." Maxwell closed his eyes briefly. "What am I supposed to do, Eleanor? I've hired the best tutors, the best therapists. I've thrown money at this problem for 3 years. She's not a problem, sir. She's your daughter." The words hung in the air between them. Maxwell turned back to the window. "I have a meeting." Later that evening, Maxwell's driver delivered him to his Westchester estate, a modernist mansion of glass and steel nestled among old-growth trees. As the car crunched up the circular driveway, he could see Mrs. Collins, Lily's caretaker, waiting at the entrance. Her expression told him everything. "Another bad day?" he asked as he stepped out of the car. "She refused dinner again," Mrs. Collins said. "She's been in her room since she got home from school." Maxwell nodded, loosening his tie as he entered the house. The mansion echoed with emptiness despite its museum-quality art and designer furniture. Without Maria, it had never felt like home. He poured himself 2 fingers of scotch before climbing the stairs to the east wing where Lily's room was located. He paused outside her door, listening. Silence. He knocked softly. "Lily? It's Dad." No response. He opened the door slowly. The room was dimly lit. Lighting made no difference to Lily, but it helped the caretakers. His daughter sat cross-legged on her bed, hands moving over a book of raised tactile illustrations. Her dark hair was pulled back in a messy ponytail, her vacant eyes fixed on nothing. "I heard you had a rough day at school," Maxwell said, remaining in the doorway. Lily's fingers paused on the page. "I got lost," Mrs. Collins told me. "The other kids left." Maxwell shifted uncomfortably. "Kids can be cruel sometimes." "Not cruel, just they don't understand." Lily's voice was soft but clear. "Dad, I don't want to go back there." Maxwell sighed, taking a sip of his scotch. "Lily, we've been through this. It's the best school for children with special needs. I'm not learning anything. The teachers don't know how to teach me. Her hands found the wooden elephant carving on her nightstand, a souvenir Maxwell had absent-mindedly brought back from a business trip to Taiwan years ago. Mom would have understood. The mention of Maria sent a fresh wave of grief through him. Well, Mom's not here, he snapped, immediately regretting his tone. Lily's face remained impassive, but her fingers tightened around the carving. You're not really here either. The truth of her words stung more than any business negotiation he had ever lost. Maxwell opened his mouth to respond, but his phone buzzed. A text from his coup about an urgent development issue. I have to take this, he said, already backing out of the room. We'll talk more tomorrow. But tomorrow brought more of the same. Another incident at school, another evening of awkward silence, another night of Maxwell drowning his inadequacy in expensive scotch. And the next day, and the next dot until the morning, Mrs. Collins found Lily crying silently in the garden, having tripped over a rake someone had carelessly left out. Something in Maxwell broke that day as he watched his daughter's scraped knees being bandaged, her face stoic despite the pain. I can't do this anymore, he said that evening, standing in her doorway. You're too much work, too much responsibility. This isn't working for either of us. And as he slammed the door behind him, he didn't see Lily clutching her wooden elephant, tears streaming down her face, another piece of her heart breaking in the growing darkness. Half a world away, the morning sun rose over the lush mountains of northern Thailand, painting the mist-covered valleys in soft gold. At the Kalani Wildlife Sanctuary, Dr. Ananya Patel was already making her rounds, clipboard in hand and worry. Etched across her face, how's she today? She asked, approaching a simple enclosure where a young elephant stood under a wooden shelter. Raj, the sanctuary's head keeper, shook his head, still not eating properly. She took a little fruit yesterday, but that's all. Dr. Ananya sighed, studying the small elephant. At 3 years old, Safi should have been playful and curious, surrounded by her herd. Instead, she stood alone, her trunk occasionally touching the ground as if searching for something or someone. It's been 2 months, Ananya said softly. I'd hoped she would have shown more improvement by now. She still calls for her mother at night, Reg said. The other elephants respond, but it's not the same. Ananya approached the fence, clicking her tongue softly. Safi's ears flicked forward, and she turned, dark eyes finding the veterinarian. There was an intelligence there, a depth of feeling, that still took Ananya's breath away even after years of working with elephants. Hello, little one, she called gently. Are you ready to try some breakfast today? Safi took a few tentative steps forward, her trunk reaching out to catch Ananya's scent. Then she stopped, as if remembering her loss, and turned away. She's unlike any elephant I've worked with, Ananya told Raj. The trauma of watching her, mother killed by poachers, it's affected her differently. She's special, Raj agreed. Have you noticed how she reacts to the children when they visit, especially little Mai? Ananya nodded. Mai was a local girl, blind from birth, whose parents occasionally brought her to the sanctuary as part of a community outreach program. Unlike the other elephants who could be skittish around unpredictable children, Safi had shown remarkable gentleness with Mai, seeming to understand the girl's disability. I've been thinking about that, Ananya said. There are studies about animal-assisted therapy for children with disabilities. Perhaps her words were cut short by the arrival of Niran, the sanctuary's administrator, his usually cheerful face grim as he approached. We need to talk, he said, handing Ananya an official-looking letter. It's from the Land Development Office. Ananya's eyes scanned the document, her heart sinking with each line. They've approved the rezoning application. But we filed an appeal. It was denied, Niran said. Zhao International submitted a new economic impact study. The regional government couldn't ignore the projected tourism revenue. So that's it. After 15 years, they're just going to bulldoze the sanctuary for another luxury resort. Niran placed a hand on her shoulder. We have 90 days to relocate the animals and vacate the property. Ananya stared at Safi, who had retreated to the far corner of her enclosure. 90 days to find new homes for 43 rescued animals, including 6 elephants. She shook her head. It's impossible. Most of these animals can't survive in the wild, and other sanctuaries are already at capacity. We'll find a way, Niran said, though his voice lacked conviction. What about the therapy program we were developing? Ananya asked. The initial results were promising. Perhaps another sanctuary would be interested in continuing it, Niran suggested. Ananya watched as Safi used her trunk to draw patterns in the dirt, a behavior she'd developed since losing her mother. We can't give up without a fight. These animals deserve better. Back in her modest office, Ananya spent the morning making calls, sending emails, reaching out to every conservation contact she had developed over her 15-year career. By midday, she had a pounding headache and little hope. She was about to take a break when her computer chimed with a new email. The sender was unfamiliar. Eleanor Reeves, executive assistant to Maxwell Pierce, Pierce Development Group. Curious. Ananya opened it. Dear Dr. Patel, I am contacting you regarding your sanctuary's experimental therapy program for children with special needs. Mr. Pierce is seeking an appropriate placement for his 12-year-old daughter, who is blind. While researching programs worldwide, I came across a mention of your work pairing children with elephants, particularly your success with visually impaired children. Mr. Pierce would like to explore the possibility of enrolling his daughter in an extended residential program with all expenses covered by a generous donation to your sanctuary. If this arrangement might be of interest, please contact me at your earliest convenience to discuss details. Sincerely, Eleanor Revisanonia read the email twice, her mind racing. Pierce, the name sounded familiar. A quick internet search confirmed her suspicion. Maxwell Pierce, billionaire real estate developer, notorious for luxury developments that often displace lower-income residents. His company had been criticized by environmental groups for several projects that damaged local ecosystems. And now he wanted to send his daughter to live at a wildlife sanctuary. She was about to delete the email when Neyron knocked on her doorframe. Any luck? Nothing yet, she admitted. Though I did just receive a strange inquiry. She gestured to her screen. Neyron read over her shoulder, his eyebrows rising. Pierce. Isn't he the American developer who built that controversial resort in Phuket? The very same. A generous donation could buy us time to relocate the animals. Properly, Neyron pointed out. Or it could be a publicity stunt, Ananya countered. I'm not interested in having our sanctuary used to rehabilitate some corporate reader's image. What about the girl? Neyron asked quietly. Ananya's eyes drifted to a photo on her desk herself as a child, sitting beside her father, a renowned wildlife veterinarian who had inspired her career. What kind of father sends his blind daughter halfway around the world? Perhaps a desperate one, Neyron suggested, outside the window. Ananya could see Safi in her enclosure, alone despite the sanctuary staff's best efforts to integrate her with the other elephants. The young elephant's grief was palpable, a reflection of her own when she'd lost her father to cancer 15 years ago. Ananya turned back to her computer and began to type a response. Eleanor sat in Maxwell's office, her hands folded in her lap, watching her boss read Dr. Patel's response to their inquiry. His expression remained impassive, but the slight tightening around his eyes told her everything she needed to know. She's skeptical of our intentions, Maxwell said finally, placing his tablet on the desk. But she's not saying no, Eleanor pointed out. She's willing to accept Lily for a 3-month trial period. Maxwell leaned back in his chair. And the donation amount she's suggesting is significantly higher than what we offered. The sanctuary is facing financial difficulties, Eleanor said carefully. They're being forced to relocate due to development plans. A flicker of interest crossed Maxwell's face. Development? What kind? A luxury resort. Zhao International is behind it. Victor Zhao. Maxwell's mouth tightened. His rival in several high-profile bidding wars over the past decade. Interesting. Eleanor hesitated, then pressed forward. Sir, about Lily. Dr. Patel wants to know if you'll be accompanying her to Thailand, at least initially, to help her settle in. Maxwell's expression closed off immediately. That won't be possible. The Westchester development enters the final approval phase next month. I can't leave New York. She's 12 years old, sir. Going to a foreign country, not speaking the language. You'll accompany her, Maxwell interrupted. Stay for a week, ensure she's properly situated. That should be sufficient. Eleanor bit back her instinctive response. After 15 years, she knew when Maxwell had made up his mind. Very well, I'll make the arrangements. As Eleanor turned to leave, Maxwell called after her. Eleanor, make sure Lily understands this is for the best, that this program, it's what she needs. What she needs is her father, Eleanor thought, but she simply nodded and left the office. Upstairs in her room, Lily sat at her desk, fingers moving rapidly over her braille reader as she finished her homework. The mechanical voice of her screen reader paused when she heard a knock at her door. "Come in," she called, recognizing Eleanor's light, precise footsteps as the door opened. "How did you know it was me?" Eleanor asked, a smile in her voice. Lily shrugged. "You walk differently than Mrs. Collins, and you always knock 3 times, evenly spaced." Eleanor sat on the edge of Lily's bed. "Your father and I have been discussing your schooling." Lily's hand stilled on the braille reader. "He's sending me away, isn't he?" The directness of the question caught Eleanor off guard. "He's exploring an alternative educational opportunity for you. One that might be better suited to your unique abilities." "Where? Thailand?" "There's a wildlife sanctuary there with a special program that pairs children with animals, particularly elephants." For the first time in the conversation, Lily turned toward Eleanor, her cloudy eyes widening slightly. "Elephants?" Eleanor smiled at the hint of interest. "Yes, the sanctuary specializes in rehabilitating orphaned and injured animals. They've had success working with visually impaired children." Lily's hand moved instinctively to the wooden elephant carving on her desk. "My father is sending me to Thailand." "When?" "In 2 weeks, if you agree. I'll accompany you and stay until—" "You're settled." "And my father?" Eleanor hesitated. "He'll join us when he can." Lily's fingers traced the curves of the wooden elephant. "He won't come," she said softly. "It wasn't a question." "Lily, it's okay," the girl interrupted. "I understand. He's busy." Her voice held no bitterness, only a resignation that broke Eleanor's heart. "Tell me about Thailand." As Eleanor described the sanctuary, the mountains, the tropical climate, she watched Lily's face. The girl's expression remained neutral, but her fingers never stopped moving over the carved elephant, as if drawing strength from it. "Will you go?" Eleanor asked finally. Lily was quiet for a long moment. "Yes," she said at last. "I'll go." 2 weeks later, Lily stood in the mansion's foyer, a single suitcase beside her. Mrs. Collins had helped her pack, describing each item. As they placed it carefully in the luggage, Eleanor waited by the door, checking her watch. "Your father should be here any minute to say goodbye," she said, though her tone lacked conviction. Lily nodded, but didn't respond. She'd heard those words too many times before Dot. As the minutes ticked by, Eleanor's phone buzzed with a text message. She read it, her expression tightening. "Lily, I'm sorry. Your father has been delayed at a meeting. He asked me to tell you goodbye and that he'll call you tonight." Lily's face remained expressionless, but her hand clutched the wooden elephant in her pocket more tightly. "We should go. We don't want to miss our flight." In the car, Eleanor watched as Lily turned, her face toward the window, though she couldn't see the passing landscape. The girl's composure was unnerving. No 12-year-old should be so accepting of abandonment. "Lily," Eleanor said gently, "your father does care about you. He just doesn't know how to show it. Since your mother died—" "It's okay, Eleanor," Lily interrupted. "You don't need to explain him to me." She turned her face toward Eleanor, her clouded eyes somehow finding the woman's face with uncanny accuracy. "Did you know elephants mourn their dead? They return to the bones of their family members for years, touching them with their trunks as if remembering." Eleanor blinked, surprised by the change of subject. "I didn't know that." "My mother told me," Lily said softly. "She said elephants never forget those they love." She turned back to the window. "I think that's beautiful." The rest of the journey passed in relative silence. The drive to the airport, the first-class flight to Bangkok, the smaller connecting flight to Chiang Mai, and finally, the long drive into the mountains. Lily slept for much of it, her small body curled in on itself, the wooden elephant clutched in her hand even in sleep. When they finally arrived at the sanctuary, the sun was setting, painting the sky in brilliant oranges and pinks that Lily couldn't see. As they stepped out of the car, the air was heavy with unfamiliar scents, tropical flowers, damp earth, and something else, something wild and ancient. "Welcome to Kalani," said a warm voice with a slight accent. "I'm Dr. Ananya Patel." Lily turned toward the voice, her head tilted slightly as she took in the new presence. "I'm Lily Pierce." "It's a pleasure to meet you, Lily," Ananya said, coming closer. "May I touch your hand in greeting?" Lily nodded, extending her hand. Ananya's grip was firm but gentle, her skin warm and slightly rough. "You must be exhausted from your journey," Ananya continued. "Naran will show you to your accommodations. We've prepared a small cottage for you both." Eleanor stepped forward. Thank you for accepting Lily into your program, Dr. Patel. Mr. Pierce is very grateful. Something in Ananya's tone cooled slightly. We're happy to have Lily. The program benefits both our animals and the children who participate. A man approached Naran, Lily presumed, and took her suitcase. This way, please. Watch your step. The paths can be uneven. As they walked, Lily's cane tapped rhythmically against the ground, mapping the unfamiliar terrain. The air was alive, with sounds, birds calling, insects chirping, and something else, something low and rumbling in the distance. What's that sound? Lily asked, pausing. Elephants, Naran replied. They're communicating with each other. They use sounds too low for human ears to hear completely, but we can feel some of them as vibrations. Lily smiled slightly, her first genuine smile since leaving New York. It sounds like they're singing. In a way they are, Naran said, his voice warm with approval. You have good ears, Lily. Their cottage was simple but comfortable, too small. Bedrooms, a shared bathroom, and a small sitting area. Naran helped Eleanor with their bags, while Ananya gave Lily a tactile tour of the space, guiding her hands to doorways, furniture, and important landmarks. We've marked the paths outside with textured stones, Ananya explained. Once you learn the patterns, you'll be able to navigate the main areas of the sanctuary independently. Thank you, Lily said, feeling the smooth wooden surface of a small table by her bed. When will I meet the elephants? Tomorrow, Ananya promised, after you've rested. For now, try to get some sleep. The time difference can be challenging. After Ananya and Naran left, Eleanor helped Lily unpack, describing where she was placing each item. Lily listened silently, her fingers continuing to explore the unfamiliar space. Are you hungry? Eleanor asked, setting Lily's wooden elephant carving on the bedside table. We could ask for some dinner. No, thank you, Lily replied. I think I just want to sleep. Eleanor hesitated. Your father texted while we were landing. He wanted to know if you arrived safely. Lily nodded, her face expressionless. Did he call? No, not yet, Eleanor admitted. It would be very late in New York now. It's okay, Lily said, sitting on the edge of the bed. You don't have to wait up with me. I know how to get ready for bed, Eleanor sighed. All right, but I'm just in the next room if you need anything. After Eleanor left, Lily sat quietly, listening to the unfamiliar night sounds of Thailand. The distant calls of elephants continued, a deep, complex conversation she could feel as much as hear. Slowly, she reached for her wooden elephant, fingers tracing its familiar contours. I'm here now, she whispered to it. Where your family is. Morning came with the chattering of birds and the warm, humid air that filtered through the open windows. Lily woke early, disoriented at first by the unfamiliar sounds and smells. Then she remembered Thailand, the sanctuary. The elephant's dachi was dressed and ready when Eleanor knocked on her door. Good morning. Did you sleep well? Yes, Lily lied. In truth, she'd lain awake for hours, listening to the night sounds and thinking of home, not the cold mansion in Westchester, but the home she'd known when her mother was alive, filled with music and laughter and descriptions of the world Lily couldn't see. Dr. Patel is waiting to take us on a tour, Eleanor said, and she says you'll meet your elephant partner today. Lily's heart quickened. My partner? Each child in the program is paired with a specific animal that they work with consistently, Eleanor explained. Dr. Patel thinks she has the perfect match for you. Outside, the morning air was thick with scents flowers, earth, and the distinctive musk of large animals. Lily's cane swept the path ahead of her, finding the textured stones Ananya had mentioned. Good morning, Lily, Ananya greeted her. I hope you're ready for an exciting day. Lily nodded. I want to meet the elephants, Ananya laughed softly. Straight to the point. I appreciate that. We'll start with a tour of the sanctuary so you can get oriented, and then, yes, you'll meet the elephants. As they walked, Ananya described the sanctuary's layout, guiding Lily's hand to feel different plants and trees, explaining which paths led where. Lily absorbed it all, creating a detailed mental map. The sanctuary houses many different animals. Ananya explained. Most were rescued from illegal wildlife trade or were injured and couldn't survive in the wild. We have elephants, of course, but also gibbons, sun bears, clouded leopards, and various birds and reptiles. Do they all interact with the children in the program? Lily asked. No, only some animals have the right temperament for therapy work. The elephants are our stars. They're highly intelligent and empathetic. but we also work with some of the gentler primates and birds. They stopped at a viewing platform overlooking what Ananya described as a large, grassy enclosure. This is where our elephant herd spends most of their day, she said. We currently have 6 adults and 3 younger ones. Lily tilted, her head listening. She could hear heavy footsteps, the swish of what must be tails, and those deep, rumbling sounds she'd heard the previous night. They're talking again, she said. Yes, Ananya sounded pleased. Elephants communicate constantly. They use low-frequency sounds that travel through the ground as well as the air. They can feel these vibrations through their feet. Like how I feel music sometimes, Lily mused, through the floor. Exactly like that, Ananya said. You're very perceptive, Lily. For the next hour, they continued their tour. Lily carefully counted steps between locations, noted the sounds and smells that marked different areas, and listened intently to Ananya's descriptions. Eleanor remained quiet, letting Lily navigate this new world at her own pace. Finally, they reached what Ananya described as a small, private enclosure separated from the main herd area. This is where you'll meet Safi, Ananya said, her voice softening. She's our youngest elephant, just 3 years old. She was orphaned when poachers killed her mother about 6 months ago. Lily's hand went instinctively to her pocket where she'd placed her wooden elephant. She lost her mother too? Yes, Ananya said gently. She's had a difficult time adjusting to life without her. Elephant calves normally stay with their mothers until they're at least 5 years old, sometimes longer. Is she alone? Lily asked, hearing the concern in her own voice. We've tried to integrate her with our other elephants, but she's been resistant. She's not aggressive, quite the opposite. She's gentle but withdrawn. Except, Ananya's voice took on a note of curiosity, when she's around children, particularly those with disabilities. That's why I thought of her for you. Lily stood perfectly still, listening to the sounds coming from the enclosure. Soft footfalls, the occasional rustle of vegetation, and a quiet rumbling that seemed to vibrate through the ground beneath her feet. She knows we're here, Ananya said softly. Elephants have an excellent sense of smell. She's curious about you. What does she look like? Lily asked, her voice barely above a whisper. She's small for her age, about 7 feet tall at the shoulder. Her skin is dark gray with some patches of pink around her ears and trunk. Her tusks are just beginning to grow. And she has the most expressive eyes, deep brown, with incredibly long eyelashes. Lily smiled at the description. Can I go closer? Yes, but let's take it slowly. I'll be right beside you. Ananya gently took Lily's elbow, guiding her forward to the fence of the enclosure. We'll stop here for now. Let Safi decide if she wants to approach. They waited in silence. Eleanor hung back, watching with a mixture of anxiety and hope as Lily stood at the fence. Her face turned toward the sounds of the young elephant. After what seemed like an eternity, Lily felt a slight shift in the air, a new warmth and presence approaching. Then came a soft sound, a gentle exhalation of breath, and something touched her outstretched hand. Lily gasped. That's her trunk, Ananya explained quietly. She's smelling you, learning who you are. The touch was unlike anything Lily had ever experienced, leathery but soft, strong yet delicate, moving with purpose and intelligence. The trunk gently explored her hand, then moved up her arm to her face, the breath warm against her cheek. Hello, Safi, Lily whispered. The elephant responded with a low rumble that Lily could feel in her chest. Then the trunk withdrew slightly, hovering near her pocket. I think she senses something, Ananya said, curiosity in her voice. Lily reached into her pocket and pulled out her wooden elephant carving. It's an elephant, she explained to Safi, holding it out. Like you. The trunk delicately touched the carving, tracing its shape with a sensitivity that seemed impossible for such a large creature. Then Safi made another sound different this time, almost like a questioning note. She recognizes what it is, Ananya said, wonder in her voice. Elephants can recognize representations of themselves, you know? They're one of the few animals that can pass the mirror test of self-awareness. Lily smiled, her clouded eyes bright with emotion. She understands. I think she does, Ananya agreed. And I think this is the beginning of a beautiful friendship. That night, as Eleanor helped Lily prepare for bed, the girl was more animated than Eleanor had seen her in years. She kept describing her encounter with Safi, her hands moving expressively as she recounted the feeling of the elephant's trunk, the sounds she had made, the way she had recognized the wooden carving. Dr. Patel says I'll start working with Safi tomorrow, Lily said as Eleanor tucked her in. We'll begin with basic trust exercises. That sounds wonderful, Eleanor said, placing the wooden elephant on Lily's nightstand. Your father called while you were at dinner. He wants to know how you're settling in. Lily's excitement dimmed slightly. What did you tell him? That you're doing remarkably well. That you've already been matched with an elephant named Safi? Eleanor hesitated. He asked if you wanted to speak with him, but I told him you were already asleep. Lily nodded, her face unreadable in the dim light. Thank you. Would you like to call him tomorrow? Lily was quiet for a moment. Maybe, after I work with Safi. As Eleanor turned to leave, Lily called after her. Eleanor, do you think my father sent me here because he thought it would help me, or because he wanted me gone? The question hung in the air, painfully direct in the way only children can be. Eleanor returned to Lily's bedside, sitting on the edge of the mattress. I think, she said carefully, that your father doesn't know how to be what you need. And I think he's doing the best he can in the only way he knows how, by sending me away, Lily said softly. By finding you a place where you might find something he can't give you himself. Eleanor took Lily's small hand in hers. I've worked for your father for 15 years, Lily. He wasn't always like this. After your mother died, ... He changed, Lily finished. I remember. He used to laugh more. Grief affects people differently, Eleanor said. Some people open up, and some ... Close down. Lily was quiet for a long moment. Safi lost her mother too, she finally said. But she still feels things. She hasn't closed down. No, Eleanor agreed softly. She hasn't. Back in New York, Maxwell sat alone in his expansive penthouse, a glass of scotch in his hand, staring at the report Eleanor had sent him about Lily's first day at the sanctuary. The message was detailed and professional, exactly what he'd asked for updates on Lily's well-being without the emotional complications of speaking to her directly. Lily has been paired with a young female elephant named Safi, who lost her mother to poachers. Dr. Patel reports an immediate and unusual connection between them. Maxwell took another sip of his scotch, trying to ignore the hollow feeling in his chest. The penthouse was silent except for the soft hum of the climate control system. No footsteps in the hallway, no caretakers speaking in hushed tones, no therapists coming and going. No Lily. He picked up his phone, scrolling to the photo Eleanor had attached to her report. In it, Lily stood beside a fence, her hand outstretched, the trunk of a small elephant touching her fingertips. Her face was turned toward the animal, her expression more open, more alive than Maxwell had seen it in years. Something twisted painfully in his chest. He set the phone down and stood, walking to the window to stare out at the glittering Manhattan skyline. He'd built so much of it towers that scraped the sky, homes for the wealthy, offices for the powerful. He'd created an empire, changed the very shape of the city dot, and yet he couldn't figure out how to connect with his own daughter. His phone rang, interrupting his thoughts. The screen displayed the name of his code, Jonathan Wells. Pierce, he answered. Curtly. Sorry to call so late, Max, Jonathan said, but I thought you'd want to know immediately. Zhao International just announced a new luxury resort development in northern Thailand. The press release mentions repurposing land currently occupied by a wildlife sanctuary. Maxwell's attention sharpened. The Kalani Sanctuary? That's the one. How did you know? Maxwell thought of the photo on his phone, of Lily's hand touching the trunk of a young elephant. Just a hunch. Send me everything you can find on this development and on Victor Zhao's recent activities in Thailand. Will do. Is this something we're interested in pursuing? Maxwell stared at the city he'd helped build, the empire he'd created while his family crumbled around him. I'm not sure yet, but I want to know what Zhao is up to. After hanging up, Maxwell returned to his drink, swirling the amber liquid thoughtfully. He pulled up the photo of Lily again, studying it more carefully. There was something in her posture, in the tilt of her head as she reached out to the elephant, a confidence he hadn't seen since Maria was alive. What are you finding there that you couldn't find here? He murmured. What am I missing? The penthouse offered no answer. It's perfect. Sterile silence, a stark contrast to the vibrant sounds and scents Eleanor had described at the sanctuary. Maxwell finished his drink in one swallow, the burn of alcohol failing to fill the emptiness inside him. For the first time since sending Lily away, he wondered if he'd made a mistake, not in finding her the sanctuary, but in not going with her, in choosing, once again, his empire over his daughter. Over the next 2 weeks, Lily blossomed under the Thai sun. Each morning, she woke with the birds, eager to start her day with Safi. Eleanor watched in amazement as the quiet, withdrawn girl she'd known in New York transformed into someone vibrant and curious. She's learning the paths faster than any child I've worked with, Ananya told Eleanor as they watched Lily navigate confidently to Safi's enclosure, her cane barely touching the ground. Her spatial memory is extraordinary. She's always been bright, Eleanor said, but at home she retreated into herself after her mother died. Ananya nodded thoughtfully. Grief can do that. So can feeling unwanted. Eleanor winced at the pointed comment but couldn't deny its truth. Her father does care for her in his way. His way seems to involve sending her halfway around the world, Ananya observed dryly. Before Eleanor could respond, they heard Lily's laugh, a sound so rare in New York that it made Eleanor's heart catch. Safi had extended her trunk over the fence, gently removing the wide-brimmed hat from Lily's head and placing it on her own. She's playing, Lily called out, delight evident. In her voice, Dr. Ananya, Safi is playing with me. Ananya moved closer, her clinical assessment giving way to genuine pleasure. That's wonderful, Lily. This is the first playful behavior Safi has shown since she arrived at the sanctuary. The elephant returned Lily's hat, then made a soft rumbling sound, almost like a purr. Lily reached out, her fingers finding Safi's trunk with unerring accuracy. I think she's ready for more direct interaction, Ananya said. Would you like to enter the enclosure today? Lily's face lit up. Can I? With me beside you? Yes, we'll go slowly. As Ananya helped Lily through the gate, Eleanor felt her phone vibrate. She stepped away to answer it, already knowing who it would be. Mr. Pierce, she greeted. How is she? Maxwell asked without preamble. Thriving, Eleanor said honestly. She's connecting with the elephant in ways that surprise even Dr. Patel. And she's navigating the sanctuary almost independently now. There was a pause. Good. That's single quotes good. Another pause. I'm scheduled to fly to Bangkok next week for meetings with potential investors. I thought I might stop by, see how she's doing. Eleanor couldn't hide her surprise. You're coming to Thailand? For business, Maxwell clarified quickly. But since I'll be in the country, it seems reasonable to check on Lily's progress personally. Of course, Eleanor said, a small smile forming. I'm sure she'd be pleased to see you. Don't tell her, Maxwell said, in case my plans change. Eleanor's smile faded. As you wish, sir. Inside the enclosure, Lily was experiencing the most magical moment of her life. With Ananya guiding her, she stood just feet away from Safi, feeling the elephant's presence, the gentle wafts of air from her breathing, the subtle vibrations of her movements through the ground. Can I touch her? Lily asked, her voice hushed. With awe. Let's see if she come to you, Ananya suggested. Hold out your hand, palm up, and wait. Lily did as instructed, her heart pounding with anticipation. For a moment, nothing happened. Then she felt it, the gentle touch of Safi's trunk against her palm, exploring the contours of her hand with delicate precision. Hello again, Lily. Whispered Safi responded with a soft rumble, the sound vibrating through Lily's bones. Then, to Ananya's astonishment, the young elephant took a step closer and gently wrapped her trunk around Lily's wrist, tugging her forward with careful pressure. She wants you to follow her, Ananya said, wonder in her voice. This is highly unusual behavior. Is it safe? Lily asked, already taking a step forward, trusting Safi completely. Yes, I'm right beside you. Let's see what she wants to show you. Guided by Safi's trunk, which never left her wrist, Lily walked deeper into the enclosure. The ground changed beneath her feet from packed earth to softer soil, then to what felt like sand. She's taking you to her favorite spot, Ananya explained. A small sandpit where she likes to dust herself. It's where she spends most of her time alone. Safi stopped, releasing Lily's wrist. There was a heavy thudding sound as the elephant lowered herself to the ground. She's lying down, Ananya described. She wants you to sit with her. Carefully, Lily knelt in the sand, reaching out until her fingers found Safi's side. The elephant's skin was rough, yet surprisingly warm, rising and falling with each breath. Lily spread her palm against it, feeling the strong, steady heartbeat beneath. She trusts you, Ananya said softly. This is a vulnerable position for an elephant. She wouldn't do this if she didn't feel safe with you. Lily leaned forward, resting her forehead against Safi's side. I trust her too, she whispered Dot in that moment. Something shifted between them, a connection forged not through sight, but through touch, sound, and a shared understanding of loss. Lily felt it like a physical sensation, a warmth that spread through her chest and brought tears to her eyes. "What's happening?" she asked, her voice thick with emotion. Ananya knelt beside her, placing a gentle hand on her shoulder. "Something remarkable, Lily. Something I've never seen before in all my years working with elephants. You found each other." Later that evening, as Lily recounted the experience to Eleanor over dinner, her face was animated, her hands moving expressively as she described the feeling of Safi's heartbeat, the texture of her skin, the deep rumbling, sounds that seemed to speak directly to something inside her. "It was like she knew me," Lily said, her voice filled with wonder. "Like she could see past my eyes to who I really am." Eleanor smiled, though her heart ached with a bittersweet mix of joy for Lily and sadness that Maxwell wasn't here to witness his daughter's transformation. "I'm so happy for you, Lily. It sounds like you've made a true friend." "More than a friend," Lily said seriously. "Dr. Ananya says elephants form deep bonds, especially with those they consider family. She thinks Safi might be adopting me in a way." "Adopting you?" Lily nodded. "Elephant herds are led by females. When an orphan calf joins a herd, an older female often takes on the role of mother. Dr. Ananya says it's strange because Safi is still young herself, but she's showing maternal behaviors toward me." "And how do you feel about that?" Eleanor asked gently, Lily's expression softened. "Like I found something I lost when Mom died." She hesitated, then added quietly, "Something Dad couldn't give me." Eleanor reached across the table, squeezing Lily's hand. "Your father loves you, Lily. He just doesn't know how to show it." "I know," Lily said, but her voice held more resignation than belief. "Has he called again?" Eleanor hesitated, thinking of Maxwell's planned visit. "He checks in with me daily for updates. He's very interested in your progress." "But he doesn't want to talk to me," Lily stated flatly. "I think he's afraid," Eleanor admitted. "Afraid of saying the wrong thing, of not being what you need." Lily considered this, her face thoughtful beyond her years. "Safi was afraid too after her mother died. But she didn't push me away. She traced the edge of her plate with her fingertips. She let me in." A sleek helicopter descended on the Kalani Sanctuary's small landing pad, its rotors whipping the surrounding vegetation into a frenzy. Ananya stood waiting, arms crossed, her expression guarded as the craft touched down. The man who emerged was exactly as she'd imagined Maxwell Pierce would be: tall, impeccably dressed in a suit that cost more than most of her staff earned in a year, with a face that might have been handsome if not for the hard set of his jaw and the calculating coldness in his eyes. "Dr. Patel," he greeted her, extending his hand. "Thank you for accommodating my visit on such short notice." Ananya shook his hand briefly. "Mr. Pierce, we weren't expecting you for another 3 days. My meetings in Bangkok concluded early," he said smoothly. "I thought I'd take the opportunity to see how my investment is performing." Ananya bristled at his choice of words. "If by investment you mean your daughter, she's doing remarkably well." Something flickered across Maxwell's face too quickly for Ananya to identify. "Good. I'd like to see her." "She's in a session with Safi right now," Ananya said. "I don't want to interrupt them. The consistency of their interactions is crucial to building trust." "I've come halfway around the world, Doctor," Maxwell said, an edge creeping into his voice. "Surely my daughter can spare a few minutes." Ananya met his gaze steadily. "Mr. Pierce, the work we do here is delicate. Interruptions can set back progress significantly. If you'd like to observe their session without disturbing it, I can arrange that. Otherwise, you'll need to wait until they're finished." For a moment, it seemed Maxwell might argue, but then he gave a curt nod. "Fine, I'll observe." As Ananya led him down a path toward Safi's enclosure, she noticed Maxwell taking in the sanctuary with the calculating eye of a developer assessing land, structures, value. "Ms. Reeves mentioned you've had some financial difficulties," he said casually. "Something about rezoning?" "Yes," Ananya replied, keeping her tone neutral. "The regional government approved a luxury resort development that will require us to relocate." "Zhao International," Maxwell said, not a question. Ananya glanced at him, surprised. "You're familiar with the project?" "I'm familiar with Victor Zhao," Maxwell said. "We've crossed paths professionally." "Then you'll understand why we're concerned." Ananya said, "Sanctuaries like Kalani can't simply be relocated overnight." Our animals have specific needs, and many are still recovering from trauma. The stress of moving could be devastating. How much time do you have? Less than 60 days now, Ananya said, unable to keep the worry from her voice. We're searching for alternative locations, but suitable land is expensive, and we'd need to rebuild all our facilities. They rounded a bend in the path, and Ananya held up a hand, signaling Maxwell to stop. We can observe from here without disturbing them. About 50 yards away, in a grassy clearing within Safi's enclosure, Lily sat cross-legged on a colorful mat. The young elephant stood beside her, trunk gently exploring a series of objects spread out before them. What are they doing? Maxwell asked, his voice uncharacteristically quiet. A sensory discrimination exercise, Ananya explained. Lily arranges objects of different textures, temperatures, and shapes. Safi has to identify specific ones when Lily names them. As they watched, Lily held up what appeared to be a small wooden ball. Find the smooth one, Safi, she said, her voice carrying clearly in the still air. Safi's trunk moved deliberately over the objects, eventually selecting a polished stone and placing it in Lily's outstretched hand. Good girl. Lily exclaimed, her face breaking into a radiant smile. She reached up and Safi lowered her head, allowing Lily to stroke the sensitive area behind her ear. The exercise helps them both, Ananya continued. Lily practices clear communication and spatial organization, while Safi develops focus and responsiveness, but more importantly, it builds their bond. Maxwell was silent, watching his daughter interact with the elephant with a confidence he'd never seen in her before. Her movements were sure, her voice strong and clear, none of the hesitancy that had characterized her behavior at home. She's different here, he said finally. She's flourishing, Ananya corrected gently. Lily has extraordinary capabilities. Mr. Pierce, her blindness isn't a disability to be managed. It's simply a different way of experiencing the world. Maxwell's jaw tightened. I'm aware of my daughter's capabilities, Doctor. Are you? Ananya challenged. Because from what I've observed, you've been more focused on what she can't do than what she can. Before Maxwell could respond, a new voice joined their conversation. Mr. Pierce, this is unexpected. They turned to find Eleanor approaching her. Expression a mixture of surprise and concern. Eleanor, Maxwell acknowledged. I thought I'd see how things are progressing firsthand. I was just about to suggest we let Lily know her father is here, Ananya said, looking pointedly at Maxwell. Unless you'd prefer to continue observing? Maxwell hesitated, his eyes drawn back to his daughter. Lily was now standing, one hand resting on Safi's trunk as the elephant guided her in a slow circuit of the enclosure. She looks happy, he said quietly. She is, Eleanor confirmed. Happier than I've seen her in years. Something complex passed across Maxwell's face, pride, perhaps mixed with a deeper emotion that might have been regret. Let's not interrupt her session. I can wait. Ananya's assessment of the man shifted slightly. Why don't we continue to my office? I can show you the data we've collected on Lily's progress and answer any questions you might have about our program. As they walked away, Maxwell cast one last glance over his shoulder at his daughter and the elephant that had somehow connected with her in ways he had failed to do. In Ananya's office, a modest space filled with books, research papers, and elephant artifacts, Maxwell listened with growing surprise as she detailed Lily's achievements over the past weeks. Her spatial mapping abilities are exceptional, Ananya explained, showing him charts comparing Lily's performance to other children in similar programs. She navigated the entire main sanctuary complex independently after just 5 days, a process that typically takes weeks. And her work with the elephant? Maxwell asked. Unprecedented, Ananya said frankly. Safi had been withdrawn, refusing food, showing signs of depression since losing her mother. Within days of meeting Lily, she began engaging, playing, even vocalizing again. They seemed to understand each other on a level that goes beyond training. Because they've both lost mothers, Eleanor said softly. Maxwell's gaze snapped to her, then away. He stood abruptly, moving to the window that overlooked the sanctuary grounds. How long do you recommend Lily stay in the program? Ananya and Eleanor exchanged glances. Originally, we discussed a 3-month trial, Ananya said carefully. But given their exceptional progress, I'd recommend at least 6 months, possibly longer. Longer? Maxwell turned. She has schooling to consider. Her future. We provide comprehensive education for all children in our residential program, Ananya interrupted. But more importantly, what Lily is learning here, independence, confidence, connection, these are foundations for any future she might want. And what about Safi? Eleanor asked. If the sanctuary has to relocate? We're working on solutions, Ananya said, though her voice betrayed her worry. Ideally, we'd find a way to keep the sanctuary here, but without a significant influx of funding or intervention with the regional government, I don't see how that's possible. Maxwell's expression shifted suddenly, the businessman replacing the father. Tell me more about this development. What exactly is Zhao planning to build here? As Ananya outlined the proposed resort, Maxwell listened intently, occasionally asking sharp, specific questions about land boundaries, government approvals, and environmental impact studies. You seem very interested in the details, Mr. Pierce, Ananya observed when she'd finished. Professional curiosity, Maxwell said smoothly. Real estate development is my business, after all. Before Ananya could respond, there was a knock at the door, and Naren appeared, slightly breathless. Dr. Patel, you need to come quickly. There are government officials at the main gate with representatives from Zhao International. They're demanding immediate access to survey the property. Ananya rose immediately, her face tight with concern. They weren't scheduled to come until next week. They said plans have changed, Naran replied. They have permits. Maxwell stood as well, straightening his jacket with practiced precision. I'd like to accompany you if you don't mind. Ananya gave him a questioning look, but nodded. Fine. Eleanor, could you please go to Lily? She and Safi should be finishing their session soon. I don't want her worried about this. As Eleanor headed toward the elephant enclosure, Ananya, Maxwell, and Nairon made their way to the sanctuary's main entrance. There, a group of 5 men in suits stood waiting 3 Thai officials and 2 men in more expensive attire who Maxwell immediately recognized as Zhao International representatives. Dr. Patel, one of the officials, greeted her in Thai. We have authorization to begin preliminary surveys today. He handed her a document which she quickly scanned. This is dated for next week, she protested in English. The schedule has been accelerated, one of the Zhao representatives said smoothly. Also switching to English. The Regional Planning Committee approved our request yesterday. You can't just show up without proper notice, Ananya argued. We have vulnerable animals here. Sudden disruptions could cause serious stress. The notification was sent to your office yesterday, the man replied, his tone professionally sympathetic but firm. We understand your concerns, but the development timeline is tight. We need to begin assessments immediately. I received no such notification, Ananya said. The official shrugged. Perhaps there was a mail delay. Nevertheless, the permits are in order. Maxwell, who had been silently assessing the situation, stepped forward. Gentlemen, perhaps I can offer a perspective. The Zhao representatives turned to him, confusion flickering across their faces before recognition dawned. Mr. Pierce, the older one said, surprise evident in his voice. This is ... unexpected. I imagine it is, Maxwell replied with a cold smile. Victor mentioned he was developing in Thailand, but he failed to specify exactly where. Mr. Zhao's interests are diverse, the man said carefully. Indeed, Maxwell turned to the officials. I understand you have a job to do, but surely a 1-day delay wouldn't impact your overall timeline significantly. It would allow Dr. Patel to properly prepare the animals and ensure their welfare. The officials exchanged glances, clearly weighing the unexpected presence of an internationally known developer against their instructions. Mr. Zhao was very clear that the service should begin today, the Zhao representative insisted. I'm sure he was, Maxwell said, and I'm equally sure he'd want to avoid any negative publicity about rushing into a wildlife sanctuary without proper protocols. The international press can be quite sensitive about such matters. The veiled threat hung in the air. After a moment of tense silence, the senior official nodded. Perhaps 1 day would be acceptable. We will return tomorrow morning. Please ensure you are prepared at that time, Dr. Patel. As the group departed, Ananya turned to Maxwell, her expression a mixture of relief and suspicion. Thank you for intervening, but I have to ask, why did you help? Maxwell straightened his cuffs, his face unreadable. Let's just say I have a personal interest in ensuring the proper procedures are followed. This isn't about procedures, Ananya said bluntly. This is about Zhao pushing us out as quickly as possible. Yes, Maxwell agreed. And about why he's in such a hurry. Before Ananya could question him further, they heard running footsteps. Eleanor appeared around the bend in the path, her face flushed with exertion. "What happened?" she asked. "Are they gone?" "For now," Ananya confirmed. Mr. Pierce persuaded them to delay until tomorrow. Eleanor looked at her employer with surprise. "That's unexpected. Where's Lily?" Maxwell asked, ignoring her comment. "Still with Safi," Eleanor replied. Their session went longer than usual. "Raj is with them?" "I'd like to see her now," Maxwell said, and this time it wasn't a request. Ananya nodded. "Of course. But Mr. Pierce, please remember that Lily's relationship with Safi is still developing. Try not to disrupt their dynamic." Maxwell's jaw tightened at the implied criticism, but he nodded curtly. When they reached the elephant enclosure, Lily was sitting on a bench just outside the fence, her hands moving expressively as she spoke to Raj. Safi stood close by, her trunk occasionally reaching through the fence to touch Lily's shoulder, as if maintaining contact was essential. Lily paused mid-sentence, her head tilting slightly. "Someone's coming," she said, turning toward the sound of their approach. "Dr. Ananya?" "Yes, Lily," Ananya called. "And there's someone here to see you." Lily's body tensed, her hands finding and gripping the edge of the bench. "Who is it?" Maxwell stepped forward, suddenly hesitant. "Hello, Lily." The color drained from Lily's face. "Dad." The word came out barely above a whisper. "Yes, Maxwell cleared his throat. "I was in Bangkok for business and thought I'd stop by to see how you're doing." Lily sat perfectly still, her expression unreadable behind her dark glasses. "You're here? In Thailand?" "Just for a few days," Maxwell said, moving closer as he approached. Safi became agitated, her ears flaring slightly as she shifted position, trunk raised. Raj murmured soothingly to the elephant in Thai. "She's sensing Lily's tension," Ananya explained quietly to Maxwell. "Elephants are extremely attuned to the emotional states of those they're bonded with." Maxwell stopped a few feet from his daughter, uncertain how to proceed. In New York, their interactions had been brief. Formal, a quick check-in before he left for work, a perfunctory conversation at dinner on the rare evenings he made it home in time. Now, faced with the reality of his daughter in this unfamiliar setting, he found himself at a loss. "Eleanor says you're doing well," he said finally. Lily nodded, her fingers still gripping the bench. "I like it here. Your work with the elephant, Safi, it sounds impressive." A small smile touched Lily's lips at the mention of Safi's name. "She's amazing. She understands me." The simple statement hung in the air between them, loaded with implications that Maxwell couldn't ignore. Unlike you, the unspoken words seemed to say. "Lily," Raj said gently, "why don't you introduce your father to Safi? Show him what you've been working on." Lily hesitated, then nodded. "Okay." She stood, her movements confident as she approached the fence. "Safi, come meet my father." To Maxwell's surprise, the elephant responded immediately to Lily's voice, moving closer to the fence. Lily reached through, and Safi's trunk wrapped gently around her wrist in what was clearly a familiar greeting. "She's saying hello," Lily explained, turning toward her father. "Would you like to touch her?" Maxwell stared at the massive animal, finding himself unexpectedly intimidated. "I'm not sure it's okay," Lily assured him. "She's gentle. Just let her smell your hand first, so she knows who you are." Feeling strangely self-conscious under the watchful eyes of Ananya and Eleanor, Maxwell stepped forward and cautiously extended his hand toward the fence. Safi's trunk approached, hovering near his fingers, drawing in his scent. Then, to his shock, the trunk recoiled slightly. "She's confused," Lily said, her head tilted as if listening to something only she could hear. "She can smell me on you, we're related, but your energy is different, my energy?" Maxwell repeated skeptically. Lily nodded. "You're tense, nervous. She can sense it?" She reached for her father's hand, finding it with surprising accuracy, and guided it back toward the fence. "Try again. Breathe slowly." Feeling foolish but unwilling to disappoint his daughter, Maxwell forced himself to take a deep breath, consciously relaxing his shoulders. This time when Safi's trunk approached, it gently touched his palm, the sensation unlike anything he'd expected, not wet or slimy, but warm and surprisingly soft, with deliberate, intelligent movement. "She's reading you," Lily explained, a note of pride in her voice. "Elephants have more nerve endings in their trunks than humans have in our entire bodies. She can tell a lot about you just from touch." "What is she learning?" Maxwell asked. Finding himself genuinely curious, Lily smiled, her face lighting up in a way that made her look startlingly like her mother. "That you're my father, that you're strong but careful, that you're trying." Something caught in Maxwell's throat at his daughter's words. He watched as Lily confidently stroked Safi's trunk, murmuring to the elephant in a mixture of English and the few Thai phrases she'd learned. "She's remarkable," he said quietly to Ananya, who stood nearby. "Yes," Ananya agreed. "Your daughter is quite extraordinary." "I meant the elephant," Maxwell clarified, then paused. "But yes, Lily too." Ananya studied him with penetrating eyes. They've formed a bond that goes beyond the typical animal-human relationship. Safi has become Lily's eyes in many ways, guiding her, protecting her. And Lily has given Safi something she lost when her mother was killed, a sense of purpose, of family. Maxwell watched as his daughter laughed at something Safi did, the sound so free and joyful that it was almost unrecognizable from the quiet, withdrawn girl who had lived in his house. "How long can this last?" he asked abruptly. "When the sanctuary relocates. If we can relocate successfully, Lily and Safi can continue their relationship," Ananya said. "But elephant transfers are complex and dangerous. The stress alone can cause serious health issues. And finding a suitable new location with the proper facilities, ... She shook her head. "It's not impossible, but it's a significant challenge." Maxwell nodded slowly, his mind already working through possibilities, calculations, strategies. "I see, Dad," Lily called, interrupting his thoughts. "Would you like to see what Safi and I have been practicing?" For a moment, Maxwell almost corrected her choice of word. "See" was a constant reminder of what she lacked. But he stopped himself, suddenly aware that here, with this elephant, Lily didn't seem to feel lacking at all. "Yes," he said instead. "I'd like that very much." That evening, Ananya invited Maxwell to join them for dinner at the small open-air pavilion that served as the sanctuary's communal dining area. Maxwell, accustomed to five-star restaurants and private clubs, initially hesitated but found himself accepting out of curiosity about his daughter's new life. The pavilion was simple but charming, with wooden tables arranged beneath strings of soft lights. The air was filled with the enticing aromas of Thai cuisine and the gentle sounds of conversation in multiple languages. Staff members, volunteers, and the few children in the therapy program all ate together in a casual, familial atmosphere, unlike anything in Maxwell's experience. "Dad, sit here," Lily called, patting the bench beside her. She had already helped herself to food, her plate arranged in what Maxwell recognized as the clockwise system her mother had taught her. To navigate meals independently. As Maxwell took his seat, he noticed the wooden elephant carving placed beside Lily's plate. "You still have that old souvenir," he remarked, surprised. Lily's fingers found the carving. "It's important to me," she said simply. "I bought it at a street market in Bangkok," Maxwell recalled. "Just a tourist trinket. I didn't think you keep it all these years." "It was the last thing you brought me before Mom died," Lily said, "and now it connects me to Safi too." Maxwell fell silent, the casual comment striking deeper than Lily could know. Had it really been the last gift he'd given her? Surely there had been birthday presents, Christmas gifts. But even as he thought it, he realized those had all been selected by Eleanor or Mrs. Collins, delivered with his name but not his personal attention. "Lily has been teaching us all about elephant cognition," Nairan said, breaking the awkward silence. "She's becoming quite the expert." Lily blushed slightly. "I just read the books Dr. Ananya gave me, and Safi teaches me too." "Teaches you?" Maxwell asked. "About how elephants think," Lily explained, enthusiasm warming her voice. "They're a lot like us in some ways. They remember people and places for their entire lives. They mourn their dead. They even recognize themselves in mirrors, which means they have self-awareness. Lily has an extraordinary capacity for understanding animal behavior," Ananya added. "She picks up on subtle cues most people miss." "Because I listen," Lily said matter-of-factly. "People usually rely too much on their eyes." Maxwell observed his daughter as she continued chatting with the sanctuary staff, noting how confidently she participated in the conversation, how she tracked multiple speakers by their voices, how she navigated her meal with practiced ease. There was no sign of the hesitant, withdrawn child who had inhabited his house in Westchester. "She's thriving here," Eleanor said quietly, having taken the seat across from him. "Yes," Maxwell admitted, "she is. Will that change anything?" Eleanor's question was gentle but direct. Maxwell didn't answer immediately, his attention caught by the easy camaraderie around the table, the way Raj teasingly corrected Lily's pronunciation of a Thai word. The way Ananya ensured a young volunteer was included in the conversation, the genuine warmth that pervaded the gathering. It was nothing like the formal, silent dinners at his mansion, with staff hovering at a careful distance in conversation, limited to perfunctory questions about Lily's schoolwork. "I don't know," he finally replied. After dinner, Lily surprised him by asking if he'd like to hear her play. "Dr. Ananya has a piano in the community center," she explained. "I've been practicing." Maxwell followed her to a modest building where, indeed, an upright piano stood in one corner. Lily found it, unerringly settling onto the bench with familiar ease. "Mom taught me this one," she said, her fingers finding the keys. "I've been playing it for Safi. Dr. Ananya says music can help traumatized elephants recover." The melody that filled the room was simple but beautiful to Bussy's Clair de Lune, a piece Maria had loved. Maxwell stood transfixed as Lily played. From memory, her face serene, her fingers moving with confidence and emotion across the keys. This, too, was new. In New York, Lily had reluctantly endured piano lessons with an instructor who grew frustrated by her inability to read sheet music. Eventually, Maxwell had allowed her to quit, assuming her blindness made music too difficult. Yet here she was, playing with a sensitivity that caught at his heart. When she finished, there was a moment of silence before Maxwell realized she was waiting for his response. "That was beautiful, Lily," he said, surprised by the roughness in his voice. "Your mother would have loved it." Lily smiled, her fingers still resting lightly on the keys. "I think about her when I play. And now I think about Safi too. Music helps me connect with both of them." "Connect," Maxwell repeated thoughtfully. "That's what Safi is teaching me," Lily explained. "How to connect without seeing. Elephants use touch, smell, sound. They understand each other in ways humans don't always understand each other." "And she helps you navigate the sanctuary?" Lily nodded. "She guides me on new paths. She remembers every route perfectly and warns me about obstacles." Her expression grew serious. "Dad, what's going to happen to the sanctuary?" "Eleanor said people came today from the company that wants to build here." Maxwell hesitated, unsure how much to share. "Dr. Patel is exploring options," he said carefully. "But if they have to move, what happens to the animals?" "To Safi, Lily's voice held a note of anxiety that Maxwell hadn't heard since their arrival. "Elephants form deep attachments to places. Dr. Ananya says moving Safi again so soon after losing her mother could be traumatic for her." "I'm sure they'll find a solution," Maxwell said, though he knew the reassurance was empty. "Dad," Lily said, her voice suddenly small, "I don't want to leave Safi. She needs me. And I need her." The simple declaration hung in the air between them, weighted with implications Maxwell wasn't prepared to address. Instead, he placed an awkward hand on her shoulder. "It's getting late. You should get some rest. Will you be here tomorrow?" Lily asked as she stood. "Yes," Maxwell said, surprised to find he meant it. "I'd like to learn more about your work with Safi." Lily's face brightened. "Really? I could show you our morning routine. Safi gives herself dust baths, and she lets me help. It's amazing." "I'd like that," Maxwell said, finding himself curious despite his initial skepticism. Later, in the small but comfortable guest cottage where he'd been given a room, Maxwell sat on the edge of the bed, jacket discarded, tie loosened, staring at his phone. The screen displayed a series of emails from his office in New York, urgent requests for decisions, updates on projects, meeting invitations, the constant demands of the empire he'd built. An empire that suddenly seemed very far away and strangely less important than the smile on his daughter's face when she played the piano, or the gentle way an orphaned elephant guided her through a world of darkness. Maxwell set the phone aside and walked to the window, gazing out at the star-filled sky, brighter and more vast than the light-polluted New York skies he was accustomed to. Somewhere in the distance, he heard the low rumble of elephants communicating in the night, a sound both ancient and somehow comforting. For the first time in years, Maxwell Pierce found himself questioning the choices that had brought him here and wondering about the path forward. Morning came with the heavy patter of rain on the roof, a sudden tropical downpour that transformed the sanctuary into a landscape of glistening leaves and muddy paths. Maxwell woke early, unaccustomed to the sounds of the jungle, but surprisingly refreshed after the deepest sleep he'd had in months. He was halfway through his first cup of coffee, brought by a staff member to his cottage, when his phone rang. The screen displayed Victor Zhao's name. "Pierce," he answered tersely. "Maxwell," Zhao's smooth voice replied. I hear you're visiting our little development site in Thailand. Such a coincidence. Hardly a coincidence when you're trying to build. On land where my daughter is staying, Maxwell replied. Zhao chuckled. Ah, yes, I'd forgotten about your daughters. Unique educational arrangement. How charitable of you to ship her off to a wildlife sanctuary. Maxwell's grip tightened on his phone. What do you want, Victor? Just calling as a courtesy, one businessman to another. My team mentioned you interfered with their scheduled survey yesterday. I merely suggested they follow proper protocols. Maxwell said. Rushing in without adequate notice seemed unnecessarily aggressive. Always the diplomat, Zhao said with a hint of mockery. But let's be clear, Maxwell. This development is proceeding. The contracts are signed, the permits approved. That sanctuary is operating on borrowed time. There's always room for negotiation. Maxwell countered. Not this time, Zhao replied. This resort represents a significant investment for my company. The location is perfect secluded, scenic, with those picturesque mountains as a backdrop. Imagine the premium we can charge for. Villas with that view. And the wildlife will be relocated, of course. All very humane, I assure you. Zhao paused. Your sudden concern for animals is touching, but transparent, Maxwell. If you're worried about your daughter's little project, I'm sure we can arrange something. Perhaps a small elephant encounter feature at the resort, properly managed, of course. The suggestion was so offensive that Maxwell found himself speechless for a moment. You really don't understand what's happening here, do you? I understand perfectly, Zhao replied, his voice hardening. A failing wildlife sanctuary is sitting on prime real estate that will be far more profitable as a luxury resort. The economics are simple. Some things aren't about economics, Victor. Zhao laughed. Coming from Maxwell Pierce, that's rich. Since when do you put anything above profit? The question hit uncomfortably close to home. People change, Maxwell said finally. Not men like us, Zhao countered. We're builders, Maxwell. We shape the world according to our vision. We don't let sentimentality interfere with progress. Through the window, Maxwell could see Lily being escorted toward the elephant enclosures by Raj, her bright yellow raincoat a splash of color against the green landscape. Despite the downpour, she moved with confidence, her face turned up to feel the rain. Maybe you don't, Maxwell said quietly. But I'm beginning to think I might. How disappointing, Zhao said. I had respect for you, Maxwell. Don't throw away a lifetime of business acumen over some misplaced guilt about your daughter. Maxwell's jaw tightened. Goodbye, Victor. He ended the call before Zhao could respond. Outside, the rain was beginning to ease, transforming from a downpour to a gentle drizzle. Maxwell changed into the most casual clothes. He'd packed still far too formal for the setting and headed toward the elephant enclosures. He found Lily with Safi in a large, muddy yard, both of them seemingly unconcerned by the wet conditions. Lily was laughing as Safi sprayed water from her trunk, creating a makeshift shower. The rain makes it bath time, Ananya explained, appearing beside Maxwell under the shelter of a wooden awning. Elephants love water. It's one of their greatest joys. Lily too, apparently, Maxwell observed, watching his daughter's uninhibited delight as she helped Safi scrub behind her ears with a long-handled brush. She's never afraid to get messy here, Ananya agreed. That's part of the therapy, embracing sensory experiences without reservation. Maxwell thought of the pristine, controlled environment he'd created for Lily in New York, the carefully organized spaces, the emphasis on cleanliness and order that he thought would help her navigate. Her blindness, had that sterility actually hindered her? Mr. Pierce, Ananya said, her tone shifting to something more serious. Our visitors will be returning this morning to conduct their survey. I've prepared the animals as best I can, but I'm concerned about the disruption, especially for Safi. I spoke with Victor Zhao this morning, Maxwell admitted. He's determined to proceed with the development, Ananya sighed. I expected as much. We've been reaching out to other sanctuaries, trying to find placements for our animals, but it's challenging. Few have the space or resources to take them all, especially the elephants. And Safi? She's young, which makes her more adaptable than our older elephants, Ananya said. But after losing her mother to poachers and now forming this bond with Lily, another major disruption could set back her emotional recovery significantly. What about purchasing new land? Rebuilding elsewhere? With what funds? Ananya asked. Bluntly, we operate on donations and grants, Mr. Pierce. Land in Thailand suitable for a sanctuary with the right terrain. Water access and necessary isolation from human settlements is expensive. And then there's the cost of building new facilities, transporting the animals, double quote, she shook her head. We're exploring every option, but the reality is grim. Maxwell watched as Lily guided Safi to a muddy patch, encouraging the young elephant to roll and cover herself with the natural sunscreen and insect repellent. His daughter's face was alive with joy, her movements confident and purposeful. What if the land wasn't an issue? He asked suddenly. Ananya looked at him sharply. What do you mean? Hypothetically, Maxwell said, his mind racing ahead, calculating. Possibilities, if someone were to secure appropriate land and provide funding for new facilities, could the sanctuary be successfully relocated with minimal impact on the animals? Hypothetically, Ananya's eyes narrowed. Yes, with enough resources and proper planning, it could be done. But we're talking about millions of dollars, Mr. Pierce. I'm aware, Maxwell said calmly. Ananya studied him, understanding dawning in. Her eyes. You're considering intervening. I'm considering options, Maxwell corrected, because of Lily. Maxwell didn't answer immediately, his attention caught by the scene before him. Lily had slipped in the mud and fallen, but instead of crying or calling for help, she was laughing, her hands finding Safi's trunk as the elephant gently helped her to her feet. Did you see that? Ananya asked softly. Safi didn't need to be. Trained to help Lily, she recognized the need and responded instinctively. That's the bond they've formed. Yes, Maxwell said, something tightening in his chest. I see it. Before they could continue their conversation, Nyron approached rapidly, his expression urgent. They're here, he said. Zhao's team and the officials. More of them this time, and they have equipment. Ananya straightened. I'll meet them at the gate. Mr. Pierce, would you? I'll join you, Maxwell said decisively. I'd like to hear exactly what they're planning. At the sanctuary's entrance, a convoy of vehicles had arrived, several official cars, a large van with survey equipment, and an expensive black SUV from which emerged a tall, elegant Chinese man, in his 50s, whom Maxwell immediately recognized. Victor, he greeted coldly. I didn't expect you personally. Victor Zhao smiled thinly. After our conversation, I thought a first-hand inspection was warranted. Besides, I wanted to see what could possibly have caught the great Maxwell Pierce's interest in this rustic setting. His gaze swept dismissively over the sanctuary grounds, lingering on the modest buildings and muddy paths. Charming, in a primitive way, I suppose. Mr. Zhao, Ananya stepped forward, extending her hand professionally despite the tension in her face. I'm Dr. Ananya Patel, director of the Kalani Sanctuary. Dr. Patel, Zhao acknowledged with a slight bow. I understand you've been informed of our development plans. Rest assured, we're committed to a humane relocation of your charges. My animals aren't charges, Mr. Zhao, Ananya replied firmly. They're survivors of human exploitation who deserve a permanent, peaceful home. A noble sentiment, Zhao said dismissively. Unfortunately, progress waits for no one, not even elephants. My team will begin their survey immediately. I suggest you prepare your staff and animals accordingly. As Zhao's survey team spread out across the sanctuary, Maxwell pulled Ananya aside. Keep them away from the elephant enclosures, he said in a low voice. I don't want Lily or Safi disturbed. Ananya nodded, dispatching Neuron to redirect the surveyors while she accompanied Zhao and Maxwell on what was ostensibly a tour of the facilities but felt more like an inspection of conquered territory. You've created quite a little operation here, Doctor, Zhao commented as they walked. Primitive but functional. Our environmental consultants were impressed by your conservation efforts. Yet you're still destroying it, Ananya replied bluntly. Zhao spread his hands in a gesture of mock helplessness. The economic realities, I'm afraid. This location is simply too valuable to remain a sanctuary for a handful of animals, however deserving they might be. 43 animals, Ananya corrected. Many of whom have been rescued from the illegal wildlife trade your development will likely encourage. Zhao's smile tightened. I assure you, our resort will operate with the highest ethical standards. In fact, we plan to incorporate conservation themes into the design, perhaps even a small educational center where guests can learn about Thailand's wildlife. How generous, Maxwell commented dryly. Zhao cast him a sharp glance. I'm still puzzled by your interest here, Maxwell. This hardly seems like your usual arena. My daughter is participating in Dr. Patel's therapy program, Maxwell replied evenly. I'm here to evaluate her progress. Ah, yes, the blind girl, Zhao said, with a carelessness that made Maxwell's fists clench. Admirable of you to find such a unique solution for her care. Before Maxwell could respond, they heard shouts from the direction of the elephant enclosures, followed by a trumpet of alarm that cut through the humid air like a knife. Safi and Anya gasped, already running toward the sound. Maxwell followed, immediately with Zhao trailing behind, his expression more curious than concerned. They arrived to find chaos. Despite Nuran's efforts, 2 surveyors had entered Safi's enclosure with measuring equipment. The young elephant was agitated, ears flared, trunk raised in distress. Worse, Lily was inside the enclosure as well, standing frozen in the center, clearly disoriented by the unfamiliar voices and Safi's distress. Lily, Maxwell called, his heart hammering in his chest. Stay still, Dad. Lily turned toward his voice, fear evident on her face. What's happening? Safi's upset. Get those men out of there immediately. Ananya commanded, her voice carrying the authority of years of experience. They're triggering a fear response. The surveyors looked uncertainly at Zhao, who had finally caught up. Do as she says, he ordered sharply. No measurements are worth an incident. As the men retreated, Safi's distress only seemed to increase. She paced back and forth, her trunk swinging anxiously, emitting short, sharp bursts of sound that Maxwell now recognized as alarm calls. She thinks they're poachers, Ananya explained rapidly. The equipment, the unfamiliar men, it's triggering memories of her mother's death. Lily's still in there, Maxwell said, moving toward the gate. Ananya caught his arm. Wait, running. And will only escalate the situation. Safi trusts Lily, but she's confused and frightened now. So what do we do? Maxwell demanded, watching in helpless terror as his daughter stood alone in the enclosure with an increasingly agitated elephant. Lily, Ananya called clearly, keeping her voice calm but projecting it to Carrie. Safi is scared because of the strangers. She needs your help to calm down. Understanding dawned on Lily's face. She took a deep breath, then began speaking to Safi in the soft, measured tones Maxwell had heard her use during their sessions. It's okay, Safi, she called. You're safe. I'm here with you. The elephant's movement slowed slightly, her attention shifting to Lily's voice. That's it, Lily continued. Remember our breathing exercises? Slow and deep, just like we practiced. To Maxwell's amazement, the elephant actually seemed to respond, her agitated pacing slowing, her trunk lowering slightly. Good girl, Lily. Encouraged. Now come to me. Come to my voice. Safi hesitated, then moved toward Lily with careful steps. When she reached the girl, her trunk gently wrapped around Lily's wrist in what Maxwell now recognized as their familiar greeting. See, we're okay, Lily said, reaching up to stroke Safi's trunk. These people won't hurt you. I won't let them. The transformation was remarkable. The frightened, defensive elephant gradually relaxed under Lily's touch and voice eventually, allowing herself to be led to a quieter corner of the enclosure, away from the commotion. Extraordinary, Zhao murmured beside Maxwell. I've never seen anything like it, Dr. Ananya, Lily called. I think Safi's calm enough now for someone to come get me. I'll go, Maxwell said immediately. Ananya nodded. Move slowly and speak. Softly, let Safi see that you're connected to Lily. Maxwell approached the gate cautiously. As he entered the enclosure, Safi's head turned toward him, her ears flicking forward attentively. It's just my dad, Safi, Lily explained, her hand still resting on the elephant's trunk. Remember, you met him yesterday. Maxwell walked forward with measured steps. Hello, Safi, he said, feeling slightly foolish but determined to follow. Ananya's instructions. I'm just here to make sure Lily is safe. The elephant watched him approach, but made no threatening moves. When he reached Lily, Maxwell placed a protective arm around her shoulders. Are you all right? He asked quietly. Lily nodded. I was scared at first, but then I remembered what Dr. Ananya taught us about elephant fear responses. Safi just needed to know she wasn't in danger. Maxwell looked at the elephant, who was now standing calmly beside them, her intelligent eyes watching the proceedings with what seemed like wary understanding. Let's get you both somewhere quieter, he suggested Dot with Lily guiding Safi and Maxwell. Beside them, they moved to a sheltered area at the far end of the enclosure. Ananya met them there, concern evident in her face as she quickly checked both Lily and Safi for signs of distress. You handled that beautifully, Lily, she said when she was satisfied they were both unharmed. Most adults wouldn't have remained so calm. Lily smiled tiredly. Safi needed me to be calm. She can sense fear. Maxwell tightened his arm around his daughter's shoulders. You were very brave. Mr. Zhao would like to speak with you, Ananya told Maxwell quietly. I told him it could wait, but he's insistent. Maxwell nodded, reluctantly releasing Lily. Stay with Dr. Ananya. I'll be right back. He found Zhao standing at the edge of the enclosure, watching the scene with an expression Maxwell couldn't quite read. Your daughter is quite remarkable, Zhao said without preamble. The way she handled that elephant, it was almost as if they understood each other. They do, Maxwell replied simply. Zhao studied him thoughtfully. This means something to you, doesn't it? Beyond mere paternal interest. Maxwell met his gaze directly. It does. Enough to complicate my development plans? Potentially. Zhao sighed. I was afraid of that. Maxwell Pierce developing a conscience would be quite inconvenient for me. It's not about conscience, Maxwell said, though he wasn't entirely convinced of that himself. It's about recognizing value beyond the bottom line. A dangerous philosophy in our business, Zhao observed dryly. Perhaps our business could use more dangerous philosophies. Zhao considered this, his calculating eyes moving from Maxwell to Lily and Safi, then back again. What exactly are you proposing, Maxwell? I don't know yet, Maxwell admitted. But I'm asking you to delay your survey. Give me a week to explore alternatives. Alternatives that would allow you to preserve this sanctuary while not completely undermining my investment? Zhao sounded skeptical. Something like that. Zhao was silent for a long moment, weighing options, calculating costs and benefits with the precision that had made him, like Maxwell, a formidable force in international development. 1 week, he said finally. Out of professional courtesy, and I admit, curiosity about what you might propose. But Maxwell, his voice hardened, don't mistake this for sentimentality. If your alternatives don't adequately address my financial interests, the development proceeds as planned. Understood, Maxwell said as Zhao signaled his team to pack up their equipment. Maxwell returned to where Lily sat with Safi, the girl's hand resting lightly on the elephant's trunk, both of them seeming to draw comfort from the contact. Leaving? Lily asked, her face turning toward the sounds of departing vehicles. For now, Maxwell confirmed, settling beside her on the rough wooden bench. I convinced Mr. Zhao to give us some time. For what? To find a solution, Maxwell said, watching as Safi gently explored his daughter's face with her trunk, as if checking for injuries. The tenderness of the gesture, the implicit protection and care it conveyed, stirred something deep within him. Dad, Lily said quietly, are you going back to New York soon? The question caught him off guard. I have business to attend to there, yes. Lily nodded, her expression carefully neutral in a way that suddenly reminded Maxwell painfully of himself. I understand. You're busy. Lily, it's okay, she interrupted. I like it here, and I have Safi now. The simple statement hung in the air between them, loaded with meaning. In the space of a few weeks, this elephant had given his daughter what he had failed to provide in 3 years: acceptance, understanding, connection. What if, Maxwell said slowly, an idea taking shape as he spoke, what if I didn't go back right away? What if I stayed a little longer? Lily's face brightened momentarily, then doubt crept in. But your work? My work has taken precedence. For too long, Maxwell said, surprising himself with the admission. Some things are more important. As if understanding the significance of the moment, Safi gently rested her trunk on their joined hands, forming a connection between father, daughter, and the elephant that had somehow brought them together after years of growing apart. Over the next 3 days, Maxwell immersed himself in sanctuary life in a way that astonished both the staff and himself. He rose early each morning, joining Lily for her sessions with Safi, observing with growing fascination the complex communication that had developed between his daughter and the young elephant. She uses different rumbles for different meanings, Lily explained as they sat outside Safi's enclosure during a break. This one, she imitated a low, gentle sound, means she's happy to see me. And this one, a slightly higher pitch, means she's curious about something. You can tell the difference? Maxwell asked, genuinely impressed. Lily nodded. It's like learning a new language. Mom always said I had a good ear for languages. The mention of Maria no longer sent Maxwell into a reflexive retreat. Instead, he found himself saying, she did. She spoke 4 languages herself, you know. 5, Lily corrected. She was learning Thai before ... double quote, she trailed off. Before she got sick, Maxwell finished gently. I'd forgotten about the Thai. She wanted to visit Thailand someday. She'd have loved it here, Lily said softly. Yes, Maxwell agreed. She would have. These moments of connection with Lily, though sometimes tinged with the pain of shared loss, were becoming the highlights of Maxwell's days. Between them, he threw himself into the challenge he'd set, finding a solution for the sanctuary. He spent hours with Ananya and Niran, learning about the sanctuary's operations, its financial struggles, and its conservation importance. He pored over maps of the region, property records, and zoning regulations. He made calls to contacts in Bangkok, exploring options that might satisfy both the sanctuary's needs and Zhao's commercial interests. On the afternoon of the third day, Maxwell found himself helping Raj repair fencing around one of the elephant enclosures, manual labor of a kind he hadn't done since college summer jobs. His expensive shirt was stained with sweat, his hands blistered from hammering, but there was a strange satisfaction in the physical work that his usual executive decisions never provided. You're good with your hands, Mr. Pierce, Raj commented as they finished securing a section of fence. Not what I expected from a New York businessman. Maxwell smiled wryly. I worked construction to pay for college. Haven't done much of it since, but some skills you don't forget. Like being a father? Raj asked with the directness that seemed common among the sanctuary staff. Maxwell paused, wiping sweat from his brow. That's a skill I'm still learning, apparently. Raj nodded thoughtfully. My father was the same way. Very traditional, very distant. It took him until I was almost 30 to tell me he was proud of me. He secured a final nail with practiced efficiency. But he learned, as are you, I think. Before Maxwell could respond, they heard excited voices approaching. Lily and Ananya appeared around the bend in the path, both grinning widely. Dad, Lily called, her face alight with excitement. Safi did it. She completed the entire cognitive mapping test. That's remarkable, Maxwell said, setting down his hammer and moving to meet them. What exactly does that mean? It means she can create and remember mental maps of spaces she's explored, Ananya explained. We set up a complex arrangement of objects in her enclosure, then had her guide Lily through it blindfolded. But I'm already blind, Lily pointed out with a laugh. The blindfold was for Safi, Ananya clarified, smiling. We covered her eyes, then asked her to guide Lily to specific objects based solely on memory. She navigated the entire course perfectly, even returning to the starting point when asked. That's incredible, Maxwell said, genuinely impressed. I had no idea elephants were so intelligent. They're among the smartest animals on Earth, Ananya said. But what makes this truly exceptional is that Safi was guiding someone else, not just navigating for herself. That shows a level of empathy and understanding that's rare, even among elephants. She knew I needed her help, Lily said simply, as if it were the most natural thing in the world. Just like I help her when she's scared. Maxwell studied his daughter's face, the easy confidence, the joy that seemed to radiate from within her. It was like looking at a different child from the withdrawn, hesitant girl who had lived in his house for the past 3 years. Lily, he said suddenly, would you like to show me your favorite place in the sanctuary? Somewhere special to you? And Safi, Lily's expression brightened even further. Yes. There's a spot by the small river where we go sometimes during free interaction periods. Safi loves to splash in the water, and there are these amazing flowers that smell like honey. Lead the way, Maxwell said, gesturing for her to go ahead as they walked. Maxwell found himself marveling at how confidently Lily navigated the paths. Her cane occasionally touching the ground to confirm the textured markers, but her movements sure and purposeful. This was nothing like the careful, tentative way she moved through their Westchester home. You know your way around very well, he commented. The sanctuary is easier than home, Lily said. Everything has a purpose here, a reason for being where it is, and there are so many sounds and smells to create landmarks. She paused, head tilted. Like now hear that waterfall? That means we're almost to the river bend. Sure enough, as they rounded a corner in the path, the sound of flowing water grew louder. The path opened onto a small clearing beside a gentle river, where smooth rocks created natural seating areas and vibrant tropical flowers bloomed along the banks. This is it, Lily said, moving confidently to a large, flat rock at the water's edge. Safi and I come here with Dr. Ananya or Raj during afternoon free time. She likes to cool off in the water, and I put my feet in. Maxwell sat beside his daughter, on the sun-warmed stone, taking in the peaceful scene. It's beautiful here. Tell me what it looks like, Lily requested. Mom used to describe things to me, not just the basics, but the details, the colors, the way light changes things. The request caught Maxwell off guard. He'd never thought to describe the world to Lily, assuming it would only emphasize what she couldn't experience. But now, seeing how she engaged with her environment through her other senses, he realized his mistake. The river is clear and shallow here, he began hesitantly. The sunlight catches it in places, making it sparkle. Like scattered diamonds. The rocks underwater are smooth and rounded, and shades of gray and brown, with streaks of white running through some of them. As he continued, finding his voice, Maxwell described the vibrant green of the jungle foliage, the brilliant oranges and pinks of the tropical flowers, the dappled patterns of sunlight filtering through the leaves. With each detail, Lily's expression grew more engaged, her hands occasionally moving as if helping her visualize what he described. And the sky? She asked when he paused. Mom always said the sky here would be different from New York. Maxwell looked up through the gap in the forest canopy. It's intensely blue, deeper than New York skies, with perfect white clouds that look like they've been painted with careful brushstrokes. It's the color of your mother's favorite scarf, the one she wore on our honeymoon. Lily smiled, a hint of tears in her clouded eyes. I remember that scarf. She let me feel the silk and said it was the color of happiness. Yes, Maxwell said softly, his own vision blurring unexpectedly. That's exactly what it is. They sat in companionable silence for a moment, listening to the river and the distant calls of jungle birds. Then Lily said quietly, "Thank you for staying, Dad, even if it's just for a little while." The simple gratitude in her voice pierced something in Maxwell's chest. How low had his daughter's expectations of him fallen, that his mere presence for a few days warranted such thanks? "Lily," he said, taking her small hand in his, "I'm sorry I haven't been the father you deserve. After your mother died, I didn't know how to connect with you. I thought providing for you materially was enough." Lily squeezed his hand. "I know you love me, Dad. You just forgot how to show it." Her generosity, her willingness to understand what he himself had barely begun to acknowledge, humbled him completely. "I want to do better," he said. "I want to learn." The morning of Maxwell's 7th day at the sanctuary dawned clear and bright. He woke early, his mind already racing with the details of the proposal he would present to Zhao later that day. After a week of research, consultations, and countless phone calls, he believed he had found a solution that might work for everyone involved. He found Ananya in her office, already reviewing the morning's animal health reports. "Good morning," he greeted her. "Do you have time to go over the proposal?" "Once more before my meeting with Zhao." Ananya nodded, gesturing to the chair across from her desk. "I've been thinking about your conservation corridor idea. It's ambitious, but if anyone can make it happen, it's probably you." Maxwell spread out a map of the region on her desk. "The key is positioning. Zhao wants the mountain views and the accessibility to Chiang Mai, but he doesn't actually need this exact location." He pointed to an area to the east of the sanctuary. "This parcel has similar topography, equally impressive views, and better road access. It's currently owned by 3 different parties, but I've made preliminary inquiries. All would be willing to sell for the right price. And your idea is to create a wildlife corridor connecting the existing sanctuary to the new protected land we'd acquire to the west." Ananya traced the proposed route on the map. "Exactly. The corridor would allow for animal movement between the 2 protected areas while giving Zhao his resort location." Maxwell tapped the eastern parcel. "The twist is making the resort's proximity to a conservation area part of its unique selling proposition." "Eco-luxury," Ananya mused. "It's becoming more popular among high-end travelers, but will Zhao go for it?" "It appeals to his commercial instincts," Maxwell explained. "He can charge premium rates for an eco-conscious experience, and the goodwill generates valuable publicity. Plus, I'm offering to partner with him on the development, adding the Pierce name to the project." Ananya raised an eyebrow. "That's a significant concession." "It's a calculated one," Maxwell admitted. "Zhao's ego will respond to the idea of having me as a partner rather than an opponent. And frankly, if I'm involved, I can ensure the development actually adheres to proper environmental standards." And the funding for the expanded sanctuary lands? Ananya asked, though she already knew the answer. I'll provide it, Maxwell said simply. The Pierce Foundation hasn't been particularly active since Maria died, but this seems like an appropriate revival of its mission. Ananya studied him thoughtfully. You've changed since you arrived, Mr. Pierce. Maxwell, please, he said. And, yes, I suppose I have. May I ask what prompted this transformation? Beyond the obvious connection with Lily, Maxwell considered the question seriously. I've spent my career building things, Ananya. Buildings, complexes, entire city blocks. I've created spaces for people to live, work, shop. But I've never created anything that truly mattered in the way this sanctuary matters. The work you do here, healing damaged creatures, including my daughter, it has a purpose beyond profit. And that appeals to you now? It does, Maxwell admitted. Perhaps it's age, or perhaps it's seeing what this place has done for Lily. But I find myself wanting to build something lasting, something meaningful. Their conversation was interrupted by the sound of running footsteps. Naran appeared in the doorway, breathing heavily. Sorry to interrupt, but we have a situation. The skies opened up unexpectedly in the north section. The river's rising fast, and some of the lower enclosures are at risk of flooding. Ananya was on her feet immediately. Are the animals being moved to higher ground? Raj is coordinating that now, but we need more hands. And ... Naren hesitated. Lily is with Safi, but they're in the riverside enclosure for their morning session. Maxwell felt his heart rate spike. Where exactly? The enrichment area by the bend. Raj sent someone to alert them, but with the rain coming down so hard, Maxwell was already moving. I know where they are. Keep coordinating the evacuation of the other animals. I'll get Lily. Outside, the change in weather was dramatic. What had been a clear morning was now darkening rapidly as storm clouds rolled in from the mountains. The rain hadn't yet reached the central sanctuary, but in the distance, Maxwell could see sheets of water pouring from the sky, and the ominous sound of thunder rumbled across the valley. He ran along the paths toward the river enclosures, grateful for the time he'd spent learning the sanctuary's layout over the past week. As he reached the northern section, the rain hit him, not the gentle tropical shower he'd experienced days earlier, but a driving downpour that instantly soaked through his clothes and reduced visibility to mere yards. The river, usually a gentle, shallow stream, was already swelling, muddy water rushing with frightening speed between its banks. Maxwell could see sanctuary staff hurrying to move smaller animals to higher ground, their faces grim with concentration. Lily, he called, though his voice was nearly lost in the sound of rain and water. Lily, he reached the enrichment area. Series of structured playstations designed to stimulate the elephant's natural behaviors, but found it empty. Panic rising, he scanned the enclosure, trying to see through the curtain of rain. A flash of yellow caught his eye. Lily's raincoat. She and Safi were at the far end of the enclosure, near where the river curved. Even from a distance, Maxwell could see the water was already breaching the lower part of the fence line. Lily, he shouted again, louder this time. Stay where you are. I'm coming. He wasn't sure if she heard him, but he saw her head turn in his general direction. Safi was beside her, trunk raised, clearly agitated by the rapidly changing conditions. Maxwell sloshed through growing puddles, making his way to the gate that separated the main path from the enclosure. It was secured with a simple latch, but his cold, wet fingers fumbled with the unfamiliar mechanism. Finally, the gate swung open, and he rushed inside. Lily, the river's flooding. We need to get to higher ground. This time she definitely heard him. Dad, the water's coming up fast. Stay with Safi, he called back, still making his way toward them. She'll keep you safe until I reach you. The young elephant seemed to understand the danger. She positioned herself between Lily and the rising water, her body forming no protective barrier. Maxwell was halfway to them when he heard a sharp crack from upriver. Looking up, he saw a large section of bamboo likely broken loose by the flood hurtling down the swollen river directly toward the enclosure fence. Look out, he shouted instinctively, forgetting for a moment that Lily couldn't see the danger. The bamboo slammed into the fence with tremendous force, breaking through the lower section. Water immediately rushed into the enclosure, spreading rapidly across the ground. I trumpeted in alarm. Her ears flared wide. Lily stumbled as the sudden rush of water hit her legs, but the elephant's trunk immediately wrapped around her waist. Steadying her, Maxwell pushed forward, fighting against the now ankle-deep Water. Willie, hold on to Safi. His daughter understood, gripping the elephant's trunk with one hand and her ear with the other. Safi seemed to grasp the situation with remarkable clarity. Instead of panicking, she began to move deliberately toward higher ground, guiding Lily with gentle pressure. Maxwell changed direction, seeing that they were heading toward a small rise at the far corner of the enclosure. He sloshed through the rising water, reaching them just as they gained the relative safety of the elevated ground. Dad! Lily reached out as she heard him approach, and Maxwell pulled her into a tight embrace. Are you okay? He asked quickly, checking her for injuries. I'm fine, she assured him. Safi knew the water was coming before I did. She started moving me to higher ground right away. Maxwell looked at the elephant with newfound respect. Safi stood protectively beside them, her body positioned to shield them from the still driving rain, her intelligent eyes watchful. We need to get out of the enclosure, Maxwell said, assessing their situation. The water's still rising. There's a maintenance gate near here, Lily said. Raj showed me during a lesson about sanctuary layout. It should be just beyond that big tree. She pointed with surprising accuracy to a large acacia about 20 yards away. Good memory, Maxwell said, impressed despite the circumstances. Let's go, but stay close to me and Safi. Together, they made their way carefully across the rise toward the gate Lily had remembered. The rain continued to pound down, and the water level in the lower parts of the enclosure was now knee-deep, but the elevated path they followed kept them mostly above the flood. When they reached the maintenance gate, Maxwell discovered it was secured with a padlock. It's locked, he told Lily, his heart sinking. The emergency key should be in a box on the post, Lily said. All the maintenance gates have them. Sure enough, a small metal box was attached to the gate post. Maxwell opened it and found a key. Inside. How did you know that? I pay attention during safety briefings, Lily said with a hint of a smile despite the situation. And I have a good memory for important details. As Maxwell unlocked the gate, he heard shouts from the main path. Raj and 2 other staff members were approaching, relief visible on their faces when they spotted the trio. Thank goodness, Raj called as they came closer. We've been searching everywhere. Are you all right? We're fine, Maxwell assured him, helping Lily through the gate, thanks to Safi. The elephant followed them, stepping carefully through the gate onto the main path, which was situated higher than the enclosure and still mostly dry. She's extraordinary, Raj said, patting Safi's trunk. She knew exactly what to do in a crisis. Like someone else I know, Maxwell said, giving Lily's shoulder a gentle squeeze as they made their way back toward the sanctuary's central buildings. The rain began to ease slightly, though the sound of rushing water reminded them that the danger hadn't passed. Lily walked between Maxwell and Safi, one hand in her father's, the other resting on the elephant's trunk, a bridge between the two beings, who had come to mean everything to her by mid-afternoon. The storm had passed, leaving behind a waterlogged sanctuary, but thankfully, no serious damage or injuries. The staff worked tirelessly to check on all the animals and restore order to the affected areas. Maxwell stood with Ananya on the main pavilion's covered porch, surveying the activity below as staff cleared debris and repaired minor damage. Lily sat nearby, wrapped in a dry blanket, sipping hot tea while Raj checked Safi in her temporary enclosure. She saved my daughter today, Maxwell said quietly. Ananya nodded. Elephants are known to protect those they consider family, especially in times of danger. Safi clearly sees Lily as part of her herd now. I've never seen anything like it, Maxwell admitted. The way she positioned herself between Lily and the water, how she guided her to higher ground. It wasn't just instinct. There was thought behind it, consideration. Elephants are among the few animals known to engage in what we might call calculated altruism, Ananya explained. They don't just react, they assess situations and make decisions based on complex social bonds. Maxwell watched as Lily's head turned toward the sound of distant elephants trumpeting. A small smile crossed her face as she recognized Safi's distinctive call among them. She's telling the others she's okay, Lily explained, sensing their attention. And checking if they're safe too. Your bond with her is remarkable, Ananya said. In all my years working with elephants, I've rarely seen such a clear connection between human and animal. We understand each other, Lily said simply. We both know what it's like to lose someone and feel lost afterward. The simple truth of her statement struck Maxwell deeply. For 3 years, he had been so consumed by his own grief over Maria's death that he'd failed to truly acknowledge his daughter's loss, not just of her mother, but of the father who had emotionally abandoned her as well. Mr. Pierce, a staff member called, approaching the pavilion. Mr. Zhao's car has arrived at the main gate. Maxwell checked his watch, surprised. He's early. Should I tell him you'll need to reschedule, given the circumstances? Ananya offered Maxwell. Considered it, then shook his head. No, this might actually work in our favor. Seeing the sanctuary after the flood will emphasize the importance of proper water management in any development plan. He turned to Lily. I have an important meeting. Now, will you be okay here with Dr. Ananya? Lily nodded. Are you going to save the sanctuary? I'm going to try, Maxwell promised, very hard. As he walked toward the main gate, Maxwell found himself rehearsing arguments, preparing for Zhao's inevitable objections, strategizing how to appeal to both the businessman's profit motive and whatever conscience might exist beneath his polished exterior. Victor Zhao stood beside his sleek black SUV, surveying the mud-spattered sanctuary with barely concealed distaste. His immaculate suit and gleaming shoes looked absurdly out of place among the puddles and debris. Quite a mess you have here, he commented as Maxwell approached. Perhaps nature is helping with the demolition process. Maxwell chose to ignore. The barb. Thank you for coming, Victor. I appreciate your flexibility after this morning's storm. I was curious to see what the great Maxwell Pierce has been concocting, Zhao replied with a thin smile. I assume you have a proposal? I do. Let's talk in Dr. Patel's office. I have maps and projections to show you. As they walked, Maxwell pointed out various sanctuary features, emphasizing the specialized nature of the facilities and the challenges of relocating the animals. Zhao listened with polite disinterest until they passed the elephant enclosures. There, Safi had been returned to a temporary shelter, and Lily sat on a bench nearby, reading a braille book while the elephant rested her trunk across the girl's lap in a gesture of casual intimacy. Zhao paused, watching the scene with unexpected attention. That's your daughter? Yes, Maxwell confirmed. With her elephant, Safi. Remarkable, Zhao murmured. I heard about their connection, but seeing it ... He seemed genuinely affected before his professional mask slipped back into place. Touching, but ultimately irrelevant to business matters. In Ananya's office, Maxwell laid out his proposal methodically, using the skills that had made him a legendary dealmaker in New York real estate. He presented the alternative location for Zhao's resort, outlined the conservation corridor concept, and detailed the financial arrangements that would make the plan viable. So you're proposing a partnership, Zhao said when Maxwell had finished. Pierce and Zhao, developing an eco-luxury resort adjacent to a wildlife sanctuary that you would fund through your foundation? Essentially, yes, Maxwell confirmed. The resort benefits from the proximity to the sanctuary guided tours, educational experiences, the cash of conservation involvement while the sanctuary secures its future through expanded protected land. And you're willing to put significant capital into this venture, both the resort and the sanctuary expansion? I am. Zhao leaned back, studying Maxwell with calculating eyes. This is a radical departure from your usual investments, Maxwell. One might almost think you've gone soft. One might think I've recognized an opportunity others have missed, Maxwell countered smoothly. Ecotourism at the luxury level is a growing market with significant profit potential and less competition than traditional resort development. True, Zhao conceded. But there's another factor at play here, isn't there? His gaze flicked toward the window through which Lily and Safi were just visible in the distance. This has become personal for you. Maxwell considered denying it, then decided on honesty. Yes, my daughter has found something here that she couldn't find in New York. Something I can give her. A connection, Zhao supplied unexpectedly. A purpose. Maxwell looked at him in surprise. Zhao smiled faintly. I'm not entirely without understanding, Maxwell. I have children too, though they're grown now. There were ... challenges. The admission of vulnerability from the usually impenetrable businessman caught Maxwell off guard. Then you understand why this matters. I understand why it matters to you, Zhao clarified. What I'm trying to determine is whether it makes business sense for me. Maxwell pushed the financial projections across the desk. Review these. The numbers speak for themselves. The eco-luxury approach commands premium pricing, and the Pierce name adds valuable prestige to the project. Plus, the positive publicity of preserving the sanctuary rather than destroying it has marketing value that would cost millions to Generate through traditional advertising. Zhao reviewed the documents with the rapid assessment of a seasoned entrepreneur. Your revenue projections are ambitious, but achievable, Maxwell insisted. I've developed 3 similar properties globally, though never with the unique conservation element this one would have. And if I refuse? If I proceed with my original plan, Maxwell met his gaze steadily, then I'll fight you with every resource at my disposal. Legal challenges, environmental impact reviews, media campaigns, I'll make this the most expensive and time-consuming development battle of your career. Instead of anger, Zhao's response was a bark of laughter. There's the Maxwell Pierce No, I was beginning to worry you've lost your edge entirely. My priorities have shifted, Maxwell said. My edge hasn't. Zhao considered this, drumming his fingers lightly on the financial projections. I'll meet my team to review these numbers, of course. And there would be conditions to any partnership agreement. Of course. I want controlling interest in the resort itself. 60-40 split is as far as I'll go, Maxwell countered. I need sufficient authority to ensure the conservation elements are properly implemented. Fair enough, Zhao conceded. And the sanctuary operations? Remain under Dr. Patel's direction, with funding from the Pierce Foundation. The resort can offer exclusive experiences to guests, but the sanctuary's primary mission remains conservation and rehabilitation. Zhao nodded slowly. It could work. It's unorthodox, but potentially lucrative. And the publicity angle is compelling. Rival developers join forces to save wildlife. The press will eat it up. Then we have a deal? Maxwell extended his hand. Zhao hesitated, then shook it firmly. Conditional upon my team's review of the financials and proper documentation of all terms. But yes, in principle, we have a deal. As they walked back toward the main gate, Zhao paused once more to observe Lily and Safi. The elephant was now demonstrating what appeared to be a game, stacking large wooden blocks with her trunk, while Lily felt each completed structure before. Safi knocked it down to start again. Your daughter seems happy here, Zhao commented. She is, Maxwell agreed. Happier than I've seen her since her mother died. And you, what will you do now? Return to New York and run your empire from afar while funding this place? The question caught Maxwell off guard. In the whirlwind of developing his proposal for Zhao, he hadn't fully considered his own next steps. I haven't decided, he admitted. New York is home, but home is where family is, Zhao finished unexpectedly. A lesson I learned too late with my own children. Maxwell looked at him in surprise. I wouldn't have taken you for a sentimentalist. Victor, not, Zhao assured him with a thin smile. I'm a pragmatist. And pragmatically speaking, all the wealth in the world means little if you've no one to share it with or leave it to. He glanced at his watch. I need to return to Bangkok tonight. Have your lawyers contact mine tomorrow to begin drafting the agreements. As Zhao's SUV disappeared down the sanctuary's muddy access road, Maxwell stood for a moment considering the businessman's parting words. Then he turned and walked toward his daughter and the elephant that had somehow brought them. Back together. Did Mr. Zhao agree? Lily asked as he approached. He did, Maxwell confirmed, settling beside her on the bench. The sanctuary will stay right here, and we'll even be able to expand the protected land. Lily's face lit up with joy. So Safi can stay, and all the other animals too? Yes, Maxwell assured her. No one has to leave. Thank you, Dad, Lily sighed, reaching for his hand. I knew you could fix it. The simple faith in her words humbled him. For too long, he had fixed problems with money and influence without addressing the most important one, his relationship with his daughter. Lily, he said carefully, I've been thinking about what happens next, about us. Her face grew guarded. Prepared for disappointment? You have to go back to New York. Eventually, yes, my business is there, but ... Maxwell took a deep breath. What if we didn't live there full time anymore? What if we divided our time between New York and here? Lily's expression froze in disbelief. You mean, stay in Thailand? Part of the time? I could have a house built near the sanctuary, Maxwell said, the idea taking shape as he spoke. I can run most of my business remotely, with occasional trips back to New York. You could continue working with Safi and attending the international school in Chiang Mai. You would do that? Lily's voice was barely above a whisper. Change your whole life like that? For me, for us, Maxwell corrected gently. These past days have shown me what I've been missing, Lily. I don't want to go back to the way things were before. Safi, as if sensing the emotional importance of the moment, gently touched both their hands with her trunk, forming a connection between them. I think she approves, Lily said with a watery smile. She's a very wise elephant, Maxwell replied, feeling something in his chest loosen and expand for the first time in 3 long years. 6 months later, Maxwell stood on the wide veranda of a stunning modern home nestled into the hillside overlooking the sanctuary. The house, a thoughtful blend of contemporary design and traditional Thai elements, had been completed in record time, with local craftsmen working alongside international architects to create a space that was both luxurious and harmonious. With its surroundings, the last of the furniture arrived this morning, Eleanor reported, joining him at the railing. She had flown in from New York to help with the final arrangements before the official move. Everything is ready for the housewarming tomorrow. Thank you, Eleanor, Maxwell said sincerely. I couldn't have managed all this without you coordinating things in New York while I've been here. It's been an interesting challenge, she admitted, with a smile. Explaining to your board members why you've suddenly decided to run your company from Thailand half the year. They'll adjust, Maxwell said confidently. The quarterly return should reassure them that I haven't lost my mind completely. In truth, Maxwell's business had thrived during his partial relocation. The time difference meant he often worked late nights to connect with New York, but the distance had also given him perspective, helping him delegate more effectively and focus on strategic decisions rather than micromanaging daily operations. Lily's down at the elephant enclosure. Eleanor asked that Maxwell nodded. Showing Safi her new uniform for the international school. She starts next week. The arrangement they'd settled on was working better than Maxwell had dared hope. Lily would attend the prestigious international school in Chiang Mai 4 days a week, with a driver taking her to and from the sanctuary. The 5th day was dedicated to her work with Safi and the sanctuary's educational programs, which had been formalized into an accredited alternative learning experience. She's nervous about starting at a new school, Maxwell confided, but excited, too. The headmaster was very impressed with her academic record, and they've worked with visually impaired students before. And how is the great Maxwell Pierce adjusting to country living? Eleanor asked with gentle teasing. Maxwell chuckled. Better than anyone would have predicted, including me. He gestured toward the sanctuary below, where new facilities were, under construction alongside carefully preserved natural areas. There's something satisfying about building something that matters, Eleanor. Something that will last beyond profit margins and quarterly reports. The partnership with Zhao had evolved into something neither man had anticipated, genuine collaboration that played to both their strengths. The eco-luxury resort was taking shape on the adjacent property, with sustainable design principles and careful integration with the natural environment. Meanwhile, the expanded sanctuary was becoming a model for conservation in Southeast Asia, with innovative programs that balanced wildlife protection with educational outreach. Ms. Reeves, there's a call for you from New York, a staff member. Called from inside the house. Excuse me, Eleanor said. That will be the art shipper about Miss Lily's piano. As Eleanor went inside, Maxwell made his way down the stone pathway that connected their home to the sanctuary. The path was lined with fragrant flowers and tactile markers, another example of how this new life had been designed with Lily's needs in mind, but in a way that enhanced rather than limited her experience. He found Lily and Safi in the training yard, engaged in what had become a daily ritual. Lily sat cross-legged on a mat while Safi used her trunk to arrange objects around her in specific patterns. Today, they appeared to be working with different scented items, small bags of herbs and spices that Lily identified by smell as Safi. Place them. Lemongrass, Lily said confidently as Safi set down a small sachet, and before that was turmeric. Very good, Ananya confirmed, making notes on a tablet. She looked up as Maxwell approached, just in time to see the cognitive mapping test. Safi's going to recreate a pattern from memory. Maxwell watched in fascination as Ananya showed Safi a complex arrangement of the scent pouches, then gathered them all up. The young elephant, now noticeably larger than when Lily had first arrived, methodically recreated the exact pattern, placing each sachet precisely where it had been before. That's remarkable, Maxwell said. How does she remember? So exactly? Elephants never forget, Lily quipped, a phrase that had become something of a running joke between them. More seriously, she added, Dr. Ananya thinks it's similar to how I create mental maps of spaces. We're both using different senses to compensate for what we can't see. We're documenting their progress for a scientific journal, Ananya explained. Their partnership is providing valuable insights into both elephant cognition and alternative sensory processing in humans. Lily beamed with pride. We're famous, Safi and me. The elephant responded by gently wrapping her trunk around Lily's wrist, their special greeting that never failed to move Maxwell with its tenderness. The new school uniforms arrived, Maxwell said. Eleanor brought them from Chiang Mai. Lily's expression shifted to a mixture of excitement and anxiety. Do you think the other kids will like me? They'll love you, Maxwell assured her, settling on the bench beside the training area. Just be yourself, the smart, confident, kind person you are. What if they think it's weird that my best friend is an elephant? Lily asked, voicing the concern that had been bothering her for days. Then they're missing out on how amazing that is, Maxwell said firmly. Besides, Dr. Ananya has arranged for some of your classmates to visit the sanctuary next month. Once they meet Safi, they'll understand. Lily nodded, comforted by the thought. I told Safi about school. I think she understands I'll be gone more often, but I'll still come home to her every day. She understands more than we give her credit for, Ananya confirmed. Elephants are very adaptable, especially when their emotional needs are met. Safi knows you're her person, Lily. A few hours apart won't change that. As if to emphasize the point, Safi picked up the last scent pouch jasmine and placed it gently in Lily's hand, then waited expectantly. That's right, Lily praised. Offering a slice of apple as a reward? You've got them all correct. Maxwell watched the interaction with a sense of wonder that hadn't diminished over the months. The bond between his daughter and this elephant continued to deepen and evolve, teaching him daily lessons about connection, patience, and communication. Dad, Lily said, turning toward him with sudden decisiveness, I've been thinking about Mom's birthday next week. Could we do something special to remember her? The question would once have sent Maxwell retreating into emotional withdrawal. Now, he moved to sit beside his daughter on the mat, taking her hand. What did you have in mind? I thought maybe we could plant a garden for her, Lily suggested, with all her favorite flowers. Dr. Ananya says there's a perfect spot near the house where they'd get morning sun, just like Mom always wanted for her garden in New York. That's a beautiful idea, Maxwell said, his voice rough with emotion. She would have loved that, and maybe. Lily hesitated, then continued with determination. Maybe we could talk about her more, tell stories about her. I'm afraid I'm starting to forget things, the sound of her laugh, the song she used to sing. Maxwell squeezed her hand. I think that's a wonderful idea, too. I have so many stories I haven't shared with you. Why not? Lily asked simply. Because they hurt too much, Maxwell admitted. But I'm learning that not talking about her hurts even more, in a different way. Safi, sensing the emotional current between father and daughter, moved closer, her massive presence somehow comforting rather than intimidating as she gently rested her trunk across their joined hands. See? Lily smiled. Safi agrees, she says. Remembering is important. Maxwell looked from his daughter to the elephant that had helped heal them both, feeling a profound gratitude that defied words. She's right, as usual. Your mother deserves to be remembered, celebrated, and talked about. She would be so proud of who you've become, Lily. Of both of us, Lily corrected gently. She'd be proud of both of us, Dad. 1 year after Lily's arrival, at the sanctuary, the transformation was complete, not just of the physical spaces, but of the people whose lives had intersected there. The expanded Kalani Wildlife Sanctuary had become a model conservation center, drawing researchers, conservationists, and tourists from around the world. The adjacent Harmony Resort, a joint venture between Pierce Development and Zhao International, had opened to international acclaim, its eco-luxury approach setting new standards for sustainable tourism, but the most profound changes were less visible to the outside world. Ready for the grand opening? Maxwell asked, straightening Lily's collar as they prepared for the ceremony that would officially inaugurate the sanctuary's new education center. Lily nodded, her fingers nervously checking the braille notes for her speech. At 13, she carried herself with a quiet confidence that sometimes made Maxwell's heart ache with pride. Do I look okay? She asked, smoothing down her dress, a traditional tie design in vibrant blue that complemented her dark hair, now grown out from its former practical bob into loose waves that reminded Maxwell painfully of Maria. You look beautiful, he assured her. Mom would be so proud. Lily smiled at the mention of her mother, no longer a taboo subject that brought only pain. but a cherished presence they had learned to keep alive through stories and memories. Is Eleanor here yet? She asked. Just arrived, Maxwell confirmed. Along with half of New York society, it seems. Your school friends came too. I saw them with their parents near the reception area. Lily's face brightened. Her transition to the international school had been smoother than expected, with several classmates becoming regular visitors to the sanctuary. Two girls in particular had formed a close friendship with Lily, fascinated by her work with Safi, and eager to learn about conservation. And Safi is ready for her part? Lily asked, her most pressing concern evident in her voice. Raj says she's been practicing all morning. She performed perfectly. The education center, a beautiful structure of sustainable bamboo and recycled materials, stood at the heart of the expanded sanctuary. Its mission was to combine wildlife conservation with educational programs for children of all abilities, with a special emphasis on sensory-based learning inspired by Lily and Safi's partnership. As they made their way to the ceremony, Maxwell marveled at how confidently Lily navigated the grounds, her cane now used more as a formality than a necessity in this familiar environment. She greeted sanctuary staff by name, exchanged brief words in Thai with local officials, and charmed donors with the natural grace she'd inherited from her mother. The audience gathered in the open-air amphitheater, adjacent to the education center, a diverse crowd of international conservationists, local dignitaries, wealthy donors, school children, and sanctuary staff. Maxwell spotted Victor Zhao among them, immaculate as always, but looking somewhat more relaxed than he had a year ago. Ananya opened the ceremony with a brief history of the sanctuary and an overview of its expanded mission. Today marks not just the opening of a building, she concluded, but the beginning of a new approach to conservation, one that recognizes the profound connections between humans and animals, and the healing that can occur when we truly understand each other. She introduced Maxwell, who took the podium to polite applause. A year ago, he would have given a standard developer speech about investment and vision. Today, he spoke from a different place entirely. When I first came to Kalani, he began, I saw it as most businessmen would, in terms of land value, development potential, profit margins. What I failed to see was its true worth. He paused, his gaze finding Lily in the front row. It took a 12-year-old girl and a young elephant to teach me that some connections are beyond price, that some investments yield returns that can't be measured in financial statements. The crowd was silent, captured by the unexpected vulnerability from a man known in business circles for his ruthless precision. The Pierce Foundation is honored to support the Kalani Education Center, Maxwell continued, not as a charitable gesture, but as an investment in a better way of seeing the world through all our senses, through connection rather than exploitation, through understanding rather than fear. As Maxwell introduced Lily, his chest tightened with emotion. His daughter approached the podium with measured steps, her face composed despite the hundreds of eyes upon her. Hello, she began, her fingers lightly touching the braille notes, but not really meeting them. My name is Lily Pierce, and a year ago, I was a very different person. I was angry that I couldn't see the world the way others could. I was sad because I'd lost my mother. And I was lonely, even though I was never really alone. She paused, her clouded eyes somehow seeming to connect with the audience. Then I met Safi, an elephant who had also lost her mother, who was also angry and sad and lonely. We found each other in the darkness, and together we discovered a different way of seeing. As if on cue, the sound of an elephant's footsteps approached from a side path. Raj led Safi to the edge of the amphitheater, where the young elephant stood with remarkable poise, her intelligent eyes focused on Lily. Safi taught me that there are many ways to navigate the world, Lily continued. Through touch, through sound, through the vibrations we feel in the ground beneath our feet, through connection and trust. These are lessons that apply to all of us, whether we can see with our eyes or not. She gestured toward the education center. This place will teach children of all abilities about wildlife conservation, yes. But more importantly, it will teach them about connection to animals, to nature, and to each other. It will teach them that differences don't have to divide us, that we are stronger together than apart. Lily extended her hand, and Safi's trunk reached out, bridging the distance between them, in a gesture that drew murmurs of appreciation from the crowd. In honor of today's opening, Safi and I would like to demonstrate what we've been learning together. Lily announced at a signal from Raj, Safi picked up a large basket containing colorful fabric pouches. One by one, she distributed them to the children in the front rows, her trunk moving with delicate precision. Each pouch contains a different scent and texture, Lily explained. When you open them, try to experience them the way an elephant would, not just with your eyes, but with all your senses. The children eagerly opened their pouches, exclaiming in delight at the various herbs, flowers, and spices inside. Even the adults leaned forward, curious and engaged. Now, Lily continued with a smile, Safi will demonstrate her remarkable memory. Raj has hidden 5 of these scents around the amphitheater. Safi will find each one when I name it, bringing it back in the correct order. For the next few minutes, the audience watched in amazed silence as the young elephant responded to Lily's commands, locating hidden pouches of lemongrass, jasmine, turmeric, sandalwood, and lotus with unerring accuracy, then arranging them in a perfect line before her. Elephants never forget, Lily concluded to spontaneous applause. And neither should we. We should never forget that every creature on this planet has value beyond what we can see, that every connection we make enriches us in ways we might not immediately understand. As the formal ceremony transitioned to a reception, Maxwell found himself approached by reporters, conservation officials, and potential donors, all impressed by the presentation and eager to support the Education Center's mission. You've created something special here, Maxwell, Victor Zhao commented. Appearing at his side with 2 glasses of champagne, he offered one to Maxwell. Not what either of us originally envisioned, but perhaps better. Maxwell accepted the glass with a nod of thanks. Sometimes the best projects are the ones we couldn't have planned. Your daughter is remarkable, Zhao added, watching as Lily introduced Safi to a group of excited schoolchildren, expertly guiding their hands to show them how to properly greet the elephant. She has your business acumen, but her mother's heart. I think the best of both of us, Maxwell agreed. Though lately, I find I'm learning more from her than she is from me. Zhao smiled slightly, parenthood in a nutshell. He raised his glass to unexpected partnerships. And to seeing things differently, Maxwell added, clinking his glass against Zhao's before turning back to watch his daughter, her face alight with joy as she shared her passion with others, no longer defined by what she lacked, but celebrated for the unique gifts she brought to the world. 5 years later, the morning sun cast long shadows across the sanctuary as 8-year-old Lily stood beside Safi in the training yard. The young woman's face, once guarded and solemn, now regularly broke into easy smiles. The elephant, now fully grown at nearly 8 feet tall, remained gentle despite her impressive size, her movements around Lily still characterized by a careful tenderness. That's the last one, Lily said as Safi completed an intricate sequence of behaviors designed to demonstrate advanced cognitive processing. Perfect as usual. Ananya made a final note on her tablet. And that concludes the data collection for your research project. Congratulations, Lily. This will make a compelling addition to your university applications. Lily beamed, reaching out to stroke Safi's trunk affectionately. I couldn't have done it without my best research partner. Over the years, Lily and Safi's relationship had evolved from a therapeutic connection into a groundbreaking research partnership. Their work together had contributed to scientific understanding of elephant cognition and interspecies communication, with several papers co-authored by Lily and Ananya published in respected journals. Cambridge and Oxford both have excellent zoology programs, Ananya remarked. But I admit I'm hoping you'll choose Bangkok's international program. They're building that new conservation technology lab, and your father's foundation is a major donor, still trying to keep me in Thailand. Lily teased, her clouded eyes crinkling at the corners. Can you blame me? You and Safi are my most successful case study. Lily's expression grew more serious. I've been thinking about that a lot lately. About what happens with Safi when I go to university. She'd be here waiting for your holidays and breaks, Ananya assured her. And with the sanctuary's expanded internet capabilities, you can even video call. She recognizes your voice over the speakers now. I know, Lily said, but it won't be the same. For either of us. The bond between the young woman and the elephant had become legendary at the sanctuary. While Safi now interacted comfortably with other elephants and participated in the sanctuary's broader programs, her special connection with Lily remained unique and profound. Every relationship evolves, Lily, Ananya said gently. Even extraordinary ones like yours with Safi, that doesn't diminish what you've built together. Lily nodded, running her fingers along the carved wooden elephant she still carried now. Worn smooth from years of handling, a tactile talisman that had accompanied her through countless milestones. "Dad's waiting for me at the house," she said, checking the time on her braille watch. "We're finalizing my personal statement today. Need a lift?" Ananya offered. "I'm heading that way for the board meeting." "No thanks," Lily declined with a smile. "Safi and I will walk. One last patrol of the sanctuary before I have to focus on applications all weekend." Ananya watched as Lily mounted the specially designed writing pad on Safi's backup practice that had begun as an experiment in mobility 3 years earlier and had evolved into their preferred method of moving around the sanctuary together. With practice ease, Lily settled into position, and Safi began walking the familiar paths, her movements smooth and careful, Trunk occasionally reaching back to check on her rider dot at the Pierce home on the hillside overlooking the sanctuary. Maxwell was reviewing documents on the veranda when he heard Safi's distinctive footsteps approaching. He looked up to see his daughter riding the elephant up the winding path that connected their home to the sanctuary below, a sight that still filled him with wonder despite its familiarity. "Meeting done already?" he called as they reached the garden. "We finished the final trials," Lily confirmed, dismounting with the fluid grace of long practice. She patted Safi's side affectionately. "All data collected and ready for analysis." Maxwell watched as his daughter moved confidently across the garden, Safi following a few steps behind like a protective shadow. At 18, Lily had blossomed into a poised young woman, her movements assured, her intelligence and compassion evident in everything she did. "I've set up in the study," he said, "but take your time. I've asked Cook to prepare something for Safi." Lily grinned. "Mango sticky rice? You're spoiling her again?" "It's her favorite," Maxwell said with mock defensiveness. "And she's earned it after all those research trials." While Safi enjoyed her treat in the garden, Lily joined her father in the study, a warm space filled with books in both braille and print, walls covered with framed articles about the sanctuary and photographs of Lily with Safi through the years. "So," Maxwell said as they settled at the large desk, "Cambridge, Oxford, or Bangkok?" "I'm still deciding," Lily admitted. "They all have advantages. Cambridge has that direct connection to the UK Conservation Corridor project. Oxford has Professor Lee's tactile ecology program. But Bangkok would mean I could come home on weekends, see Safi more regularly. And your old dad," Maxwell added with a smile in his voice. Lily reached across the desk to find his hand. "That too, but you'd visit me wherever I go. You've already checked out real estate near all 3 campuses, haven't you?" "Guilty as charged," Maxwell admitted. "Old habits die hard." They worked through the afternoon, refining Lily's personal statement, a powerful narrative about how her partnership with Safi had shaped her understanding of conservation and communication. Maxwell marveled, not for the first time, at his daughter's eloquence and clarity of thought. "Mom would be so proud of you," he said as they finished. "Heading to university, published research at 18, changing how people think about conservation and accessibility. She'd be proud of you too," Lily replied softly. "For everything you've built here, for how you changed." Maxwell was quiet, for a moment remembering the man he'd been 5 years ago, driven, successful, but emotionally isolated, particularly from his daughter. The journey from that man to who he was now hadn't been without challenges, but he wouldn't trade it for all his former certainties. "I was thinking," he said, changing the subject slightly, "we should celebrate when you finish your applications. A special dinner, perhaps? Or we could take the helicopter to that island resort you enjoyed last summer." Lily shook her head. "Actually, I'd rather do something here, maybe a picnic by the river, with Safi and some of the sanctuary staff. Something simple." Maxwell smiled, recognizing how much his daughter's values differed from what his would have been at her age. Where he would have sought exclusive experiences and luxury, Lily consistently chose connection and simplicity. "A picnic it is," he agreed. Later that evening, as the sun set over the mountains, Maxwell found Lily in the garden with Safi. His daughter sat cross-legged on the ground, the elephant lying beside her, trunk gently draped across Lily's lap in their familiar position of companionship. "Room for one more?" Maxwell asked, approaching with a tray holding tea for himself and Lily and a bunch of bananas for Safi. "Always," Lily patted the ground beside her. Maxwell settled down, somewhat less gracefully than his daughter, and distributed their evening refreshments. Safi accepted a banana with delicate precision, her trunk briefly touching Maxwell's hand in what he now recognized as a gesture of affection. "I've been thinking," Lily said after a comfortable silence, "about that day you decided to send me away to the sanctuary." Maxwell tensed slightly. They rarely spoke of that painful time directly. "I was so hurt," Lily continued. "I thought you were abandoning me because I was too much trouble, because my blindness made me a burden you didn't want." "Lily, let me finish," she said gently. "I was wrong. Or not entirely right, anyway. You were lost too, Dad. After Mom died, you were as blind in your way as I was in mine. You couldn't see a path forward for us." Maxwell swallowed hard, humbled by his daughter's insight. "That's true. I couldn't see beyond my own grief, my own limitations. But you found your way," Lily said, reaching for his hand. "We both did. And sending me here, even if it was for the wrong reasons at first, it gave us both what we needed. Me with Safi, and you with the space to remember what really matters." Safi shifted slightly, her large body warm against them in the cooling evening air, her presence a solid reminder of the unexpected catalyst for their healing. "I used to think blindness was my greatest challenge," Lily mused. Her face turned toward the setting sun she couldn't see but could feel on her skin. "But now I understand that the real blindness is failing to recognize the connections that sustain us, the bonds that give life meaning." Maxwell looked at his remarkable daughter, then at the elephant who had somehow helped bridge the chasm between them, teaching them both to navigate a world beyond sight, beyond words, beyond the narrow definitions of family they had clung to. "And their grief? Sometimes," he said softly, "we need others to help us see what's right in front of us." Safi's trunk moved gently between them, touching first Lily's face, then Maxwell's, a gesture that needed no translation across the boundaries of species. A reminder of the unexpected ways love finds its expression when we open ourselves to possibility. As darkness fell over the sanctuary, the stars emerged above them, countless points of light illuminating the night. Maxwell knew Lily couldn't see them, but as he described the constellations to her, her face lifted toward the heavens with a serene smile that suggested she was seeing something perhaps more profound than mere stars. "Do you ever regret it?" Lily asked suddenly. "Changing everything about your life because of what we found here?" Maxwell considered the question seriously, thinking of his former existence, the ruthless focus on acquisition and development, the emotional isolation, the belief that success could be measured in buildings erected and deals closed. "Not for a moment," he answered truthfully. "Some journeys look like detours until you realize they're actually the main road. This was always where we were meant to be." Lily leaned against his shoulder, her hand still resting on Safi's trunk. The three of them connected in the quiet darkness, a man who had learned to see with his heart, a girl who had found strength in her difference, and an elephant who had shown them both the power of presence, of patience, of love without conditions or limitations. "Yes," Lily agreed softly, "this is exactly where we belong." The night wrapped around them like a gentle embrace. The sounds of the sanctuary, distant elephant calls, the rustle of nocturnal creatures, the soft breathing of Safi beside them, creating a symphony of life that required no sight to appreciate, only openness to the wonder of connection. In that moment, under the vast high sky, Maxwell Pierce knew with absolute certainty that true wealth had nothing to do with the empire he'd built in New York, and everything to do with the bonds he'd formed here, with his daughter, with this place, and yes, with the remarkable elephant, who had taught them both to see beyond darkness into light. If you enjoyed this touching story of love, connection, and unexpected bonds, please like and subscribe to our channel for more heartwarming stories that remind us of what truly matters in life. Share your own experiences with animals who changed your perspective in the comments below.